What's going on, everybody? How are you today? It is cold. Oops. It is cold. How's everybody doing? Everybody doing good? What's going on? Pam in the chat. Jennifer. Jack. What's going on? Jack. Nelly. What's going on? Nelly. Stan. What's going on, Stan? Lorraine. Sheffy. Judy. Christine. What's going on, Christine? Jeannie. Alicia. Melanie. What's going on, Melanie? Julie, how are you? Amanda, what's going on? Alicia, how are you, Alicia? Amanda, what's going on? FOD. Jennifer, what's up? Jack, Star. Tina, Carol. Jeannie, EE Green, Ashley, what's going on? 85 degrees there, you're lucky. I missed that weather. Julian, what's going on? Judy, what's going on? Melanie, I'm good, Tina. What's up, Amanda? Jesse says getting the gifting goal started. Let's go, Jesse. What's going on, everybody? How is everybody doing? Everybody doing good? Sheffy with the $10. Sheffy and Jesse kicking it off. Sheffy and Jesse, thank you so much to both of you. Jesse with the 5, Sheffy with the 10. Let's go. Oh, sorry, I don't know what to tell you about that, Jennifer. To pull it up on a phone or whatever. I don't know what to tell you. Unfortunately, I can't fix that, so... Let me see if I can get this pulled up here. If we have any Trump people, if you support Trump, you're certainly welcome to call in. If you support Trump, you're certainly welcome to call in. Julian, what's going on? Best notifications ever are the ones for your stream. Thank you, Julian. Appreciate that. When they send them out, you know. Thank you, Julian. Appreciate you, Julian. Thank you so much, Julian. I think that money's already spent, if you want to know the truth. I think that money's actually already spent. So I truly do. And I certainly don't believe we're getting $2,000 stimulus checks either. I can minimize but can't close my phone screen. It needs to stay open. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know anything about it, so... but if we count the $5,000 we're supposed to get from Elon and the $2,000 we're supposed to get from Trump, now we're owed $7,000. Are we going to see that $7,000? Hell to the no. We're not going to see that $7,000. No, we are not going to see that $7,000. That is for sure. We are definitely not going to see it. Everything's always coming in 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Everything's always coming in 2 weeks when you support Trump. Just wait 2 more weeks, everybody. 2 more weeks. It's always 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks with his health care plan. It's 2 weeks with everything. It's 2 weeks with everything. Fucking gets old, man. It was old a long time ago. No, Carmen, you can call in to that phone number right there, and we can have a conversation about why you support Trump and why I don't support Trump. If you support Trump and you want to tell me how you think, I want to know what Trump supporters think right now, how the world is going. Do they support what's happening in the country right now? That's really what I'm interested in knowing. I'm going to need that $7K to pay my Obamacare bill. I hear you. He doesn't want to fund food for children and elderly. He's not giving money to anyone. No, it's not happening. There is no money coming. It's just another promise that will never be fulfilled because, you know, that's how it works. Yeah, no. I'm not a Trump supporter at all. At all. It is really cold out today. Should have put the heat on in my office. What's up, Simon? How you doing?
Call from
Oh, Civil War.
What?
to accept.
What's your first name?
Alexander,
Alexander. How old are you?
21.
Okay, and why do you support Trump?
Trump was like the best president ever for like when he came into office, America just started booming, the stock market started going in, and food started going down.
What? What happened?
When he first came into office, uh, Trump started boosting the economy and boosting the stock market and reducing the prices of groceries.
Yeah, no, that never happened. Sorry. What else you got? Do you like what's
Trump
happening? Do you like
was
what's
the best
happening?
president.
Do you like what's happening to undocumented
What,
immigrants and
what's
American
wrong with
citizens in
Trump?
the streets right now? Well, he's conducting a mass deportation operation that has incredible constitutional consequences, incredible legal consequences for both citizens of this country and undocumented people. That's what's wrong with him. Do you care about your constitution?
Yeah, I care about the Constitution, but that don't got anything to do with immigrants.
Well, undocumented immigrants have constitutional rights.
Why would they have constitutional rights if they're not American citizens?
What was that? What was that sentence? I couldn't hear you.
Why would they have constitutional rights if they're not American citizens?
Because the Constitution is not applicable to only citizens of the country. So, like, for instance, the Fifth Amendment specifically says that the government can't deprive persons of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Doesn't say citizens. The Supreme Court, who's legally responsible for interpreting the Constitution, agrees that these rights are applicable to undocumented immigrants. It's just a fact. Look, it pisses MAGA off, right? Because they don't want undocumented immigrants to have these rights. But guess what? They do. They have these rights. Whether you like it or not, they have these rights.
What makes you think that the immigrants have more rights than American citizens?
I didn't say more rights. I said that they have constitutional rights. Would you like to?
Constitutional rights
Here's
if they're
what we'll
not even
do.
citizens?
Listen, here's what we'll do, right? Well, because would you want to live in a country where the government could just throw people in prison and just accuse them of committing crimes and throw them in prison for the rest of their life without their ability to defend themselves?
Nah, that won't be right.
Okay. Why don't you? Here's the thing. Here's what I do, right? Because I don't like to just go back and forth and argue about facts. And this is kind of a surface level fact that you should know. Why don't you go to Google right now and type in, do undocumented immigrants have constitutional rights? And I want you to read it out loud for the class. Go to google.com, type in, do undocumented immigrants have constitutional rights? And I want you to read it out loud for the class. You got
Yes,
it?
immigrants are protected by the U.S. Constitution.
Read it out loud. What did it say?
Key provisions such as due process.
Hold on. Start over. Start from the beginning. Start from the beginning. Go ahead.
Yes, immigrants are protected by the U.S. Constitution. Key provisions such as due process and equal protection under the law apply to all persons, including both documented and undocumented immigrants. These constitutional rights extend beyond U.S. citizens.
There you go. So I know it's a revelation for MAGA supporters who, truthfully, don't know this, but they have constitutional rights. So obviously that I can list that as a consequence of mass deportation if their rights are being violated.
Yeah.
Would you like to move forward now?
Yeah, what else would you like to talk about?
No, I would like you to explain to me what other consequences of undocumented immigration exist that justify spending billions of dollars to remove them. He hung up. Have a good day. I love the Trump supporters in chat who just like complain the entire time about everything that I say. You know, when you could just look these things up yourself, you don't need to trust me. You don't need to trust me. You can go research it, read, and look it up, and you'll find out it is in fact the case. Look, that's a justification. Okay? That's a legitimate consequence. I wouldn't want to live in a country where that wasn't the case. Just wouldn't.
Call from.
What's up? Are you a Trump supporter?
Yeah, I love Trump.
Awesome. So why do you love Trump? Love is kind of strong, isn't it? Love is kind of strong, isn't it, for a politician? I mean, I don't love any
politician. He's a beautiful man. I don't know. I'd pull down them diapers and go to town, man.
I'm sure.
But
you would,
no,
honestly.
I like Trump because he's a racist, and that aligns with my beliefs as a piece of shit human being.
Appreciate that. At least you've come to terms with it. You know, at least you've come to terms with it. Let's see what that fucking call waiting shit is. Man, these guys are weird, aren't they? Well, at least you came to terms with it. That's good. Switchblade says, I love Trump because he is awesome. Well, and you're probably, what? Are you a grown person saying that? You love a politician. Do you guys understand how weird it is to love a politician? There isn't a single politician I love. Okay? That's just weird. I mean, seriously. You're welcome to call in anytime you want, Hector. Okay? You're welcome to call anytime you want. Alicia, thank you so much, Alicia. Alicia, you lost MAGA when they suggested. Yeah, thank you so much, Alicia. I appreciate you. That's what MAGA does. They run from the truth.
Call from.
Abraham.
What's up? Are you a Trump supporter?
Yes, I am.
Okay, why?
I support him because of his illegal immigration policies.
Okay, why specifically?
Because I believe that we need to deport all illegals.
Yeah, but what specifically is the consequence that you're referring to that justifies the mass deportation?
A tax rate on citizens, crime, fentanyl.
All right, perfect. Let's talk about it. So, do you think that undocumented immigrants are primarily responsible for trafficking in that specific substance? Or would you be surprised to know that that substance is primarily trafficked by American-born citizens through legal border crossings and things like international mail, according to the Drug Enforcement Administration?
Yeah, I'm fully aware of that. I was just naming off examples of what could go down, but I would
so
say
if you're fully
primarily
aware of
would
it,
be,
why would you list it as a
the burden on-
consequence? If you're fully aware of it, why would you list it as a consequence?
Because that's not 100%. There's still some flow of fentanyl that does come from illegal immigrants.
Well, the
It's
problem
not
is,
the
though, when
majority,
you
but
look at
it's
the
one
flow of fentanyl, it is an issue with American citizens. And understanding, I'm explaining to you what the consequences are that justify spending billions of dollars. We already have laws in place that deport people for committing crime, right? So I'm asking you to simply justify spending billions, if not trillions of dollars, if conducted over a 10-year period, to deport undocumented immigrants. You need to give me significant consequences of undocumented immigration to support such a policy. What are those significant consequences?
Yep. the taxpayer on the citizens. So it is estimated that illegal immigrants have costed the taxpayer about $150 billion. Some estimates are more, some are a little less, but $150 billion is a fair average. And they've only paid, or that number is after including their tax contributions. That fact alone is more than enough for you to
Sure,
say.
let's
And
talk about
number
it.
one, they broke the law.
Sure, let's talk about it.
first and foremost.
Sure, let's talk about
Yeah.
it. So I'm assuming you're citing the FAIR study if you're listing 150 billion, right?
Well, not only, I think FAIR estimates 150 billion and more, but there's also
No, FAIR
Cato
estimates
and
150.
also
Yeah, but do
okay.
you know what those
well, there's
studies
also
do?
Cato and
Yeah, it's okay. I can debunk it. Don't worry. I do this every day. So I'll explain to you, right? Very simply put, undocumented immigrants in these studies, they count things like, and I can list others for you, but I'll give an example of why they have a flawed or inflated fiscal burden. They do things like count the cost of American-born citizens to undocumented immigrants as the cost of illegal immigration without including the future tax contributions of undocumented immigrants. I mean, of these American-born citizens. So they take the American-born children of undocumented immigrants, count the costs to unfairly inflate the fiscal burden without considering their future tax contributions to offset the cost. So these studies have been.
where's
these,
your
Yeah, these studies. Where's my what? Did you read the study? There's a number of methodological issues in those studies, like limited data samples. Right? They don't give nationwide data sets.
not only referencing FAIR.
What?
I'm not only referencing FAIR. I'm also referencing Cato has also had some information about that. Also,
Yeah. What's
I know
the
there's
study
some
and what's
congressional
how did they
numbers that
collect?
came out.
Okay, so tell me, what is the specific fiscal burden of the study you're citing, and you got to give me the specific study.
I'd have to go online. I'm driving right now, but I believe it's at least 100 billion.
Yeah, it's not though. So I'll explain to you. Like, if you
Where's your evidence for that?
my
what
evidence, I just
What?
explained
And
to
even
you.
if what's
Listen,
wrong with
stop talking. I just explained
What's
to you
wrong
what
with-
my evidence is. If you include
okay,
the
but
cost,
where?
can I finish? No, this is the case for pretty much any study that tries to unfairly inflate the fiscal burden, because every credible study shows they're a net positive, not a net negative. Every study I've ever read, but specifically, right, they do things like count the costs of American citizens, right, who were born to undocumented immigrants without considering their future tax contributions. They unfairly inflate the fiscal burden. Without you giving me specifics, I can't debunk it, right? But I can tell you that in the FAIR study specifically, these are things that they did. Unless you can tell me like their method of collection and specifically how they came to that conclusion, I can't debunk it. I can tell you this is how they typically inflate the burden unfairly.
Yeah, I'll have to look deeper into that. I never
You
realized
should.
that or looked.
Did you ever
and
look
pick apart-
beyond
Yeah, I
just
will.
the cost? Did you ever look beyond just the fiscal burden, beyond $100 billion? Like, did you ever take the time to actually... Go ahead.
I had written a paper about it in my college a couple of years ago, so I can't fully remember everything. I would just remember that was one of the numbers I was setting. But question for you, sir: what's wrong if they're not contributing now? What's wrong with that?
Because
that
you
method?
can't
what
because
they
you
do.
can't because that would be like saying this is you can't count the cost of an American citizen to an undocumented immigrant. If you're born in the United States, you're an American citizen, right? That would be like saying this is the cost of American citizens. These are American citizens. You can't count the cost of American citizens towards undocumented immigration. If you were going to count the cost of American citizens without considering their tax contributions, would that fiscal burden be inflated? If we said, okay, what's the cost of American citizens in this country, and then didn't count their future tax contributions and only counted the cost of when they're a child, would that be fair? Would that be fair? No, it wouldn't be fair, right? It would unfairly inflate the burden. You have to count the future tax contributions or it unfairly inflates the burden. This is simple math, dude. I don't know
what percent of I'm not arguing with you. I'm saying
But
I
you
know
are
probably
though,
people
and you have never read the
coming out-
study, I can tell. Give me one example of their method of collection. Give me three things. Give me three things in their method of collection.
I'm here to be respectful, dog. I just let you know that I haven't read the full study. So I'm just
Right.
coming at you with more questions.
So
I know you're used to people attacking, and
No, I'm not used to
just
people
asking questions.
attacking, but your unwillingness to listen and learn is what I have a problem with. I explained to you an example of how they did that, right? I explained to you.
Yes, I understand, and I said, yeah, I'll have to take a deeper look because, I'm not really going to take what somebody says at face value until I do my own research. But question for you, what percent of illegals have children? Or do you believe that they cause a burden? Do you think they're a net benefit? Or what's your belief and where do you get this information
Not if they're
from?
American born. They're American citizens. And that's one of a million reasons why. That's not the only reason why. That's one of a million reasons why. They also used in their numbers for undocumented, like the population was more than 1 million higher than every reputable source such as the Pew Research, Department of Homeland Security. So they don't even have the correct population number, right? Everything about the study was incorrect. You'll have to specifically, you will have to specifically cite what study you're talking about. If you're saying it's the FAIR study and other studies, you're going to have to give me, we'll have to go through the method of collection in order to break it down. Right. I just think here's another thing with the FAIR study. They didn't count the tax contributions of undocumented immigrants. They didn't give their positive contributions economically. So you're giving a flawed fiscal, listen, you're giving a flawed fiscal cost model when you don't count tax contributions. I love the numbskulls that keep calling while I'm literally on the phone. Like, you see me on the phone and these numbskulls call in like, why aren't you answering? Because I'm on the phone, Nimrod. So that's the thing, bro.
What are you saying are their contributions? Yeah, I'm listening. My ears are open. I'm always willing to learn and sharpen my skills.
Well, let's just think about it, right? If you're conducting it, would you consider it an error to not include the tax contributions when considering the fiscal burden?
Yes, but I'm pretty sure they do say they do include 17% of that as an offset, if I'm remembering correctly. They do include.
In which study?
I forget the numbers, but I thought they did. But if not, let's just say
they definitely didn't with $100 billion.
I believe it was, but getting past that, can you please answer my question? What are the contributions? What are the contributions?
Sure. $100 billion at a federal, state, and local level.
What did you say?
$100 billion at a federal, state, and local level.
That you're saying that's what they contribute.
They contribute tax revenue of $100 billion at a federal, state, and local level. Listen, I'm here to debate. If you have a bunch of questions, you should go research and come back and debate. But I'm interested in debating. If you don't know that their tax contributions are $100 billion, this probably isn't the right conversation for you. You should probably go start researching.
So then, what are their burdens? What's the burden they cost? Do you know illegals use the most welfare out of legal immigrants and Americans?
Okay, so what study are you citing now? You got to give sources. You can't.
Welfare system in place.
Okay, so you can't.
This is from Congress.
Okay, where? So Congress said what specifically? What was their method of collection? Okay, he hung up. Yeah, you're gonna have to cite sources, man. Like, you can't just say shit and then fucking not expect to cite sources. You're gonna have to cite sources. All Are you a Trump
Call
supporter?
from
Are you a Trump supporter?
call from
Anthony?
Anthony, are you a Trump supporter?
Yes.
Okay. So why are you a Trump supporter, Anthony?
Well, I've liked a lot of his policies. I'd say 80-20, 90-10, over the past years. I've been listening to you about the immigration, over the past few minutes, and not to beat a dead horse, I just think the immigration issue with so many people streaming across the border, the sex trafficking, the kid trafficking, losing kids, people dying, trying to get here, whether good intentions or bad intentions, something just needed to stop that flow. Whether there's drugs or guns, anything else coming across border, investigated by that. Other than that, they just need to improve the immigration process to get everybody through at a better pace instead of waiting years. But that's just, I guess, the Mexican side. You still have the European side where it's like, people coming across having, from Europe having anchor babies and just trying to do anything, even just to become like a permanent resident, right? They don't necessarily get legal status, but they got a permanent residency, so they can't be deported either. So I guess I like that policy.
Sure.
With the immigration.
Sure.
All the other stuff just seems like noise. You know what I mean?
Well, it's definitely not noise, because struggling to come up with a consequence is not noise. I want to state a couple of things. Number one, I'll state what I agree with you on. The immigration system is broken. I know that. I know the immigration system is broken. If you don't know my stance on immigration, my stance is that we need to grant mass amnesty to people who are already here, because those consequences are minimal and their contributions are a net positive, right? And just not economically. I think they're just, generally speaking, a positive benefit on society. Immigrants built these cities, right? Immigrants built the buildings that you see in these major cities. Immigrants are responsible for what the United States is today in a lot of different ways. And
right.
I think that when people struggle to come up with a consequence, right, then I have to question whether or not it's just because you either listen to what you're.
Right.
This is very like common sense, right? This is very common sense. No one considers the cost of undocumented immigration when we talk about these things. Nobody considers. I'm talking about a burden on the American taxpayer when I talk about the cost of undocumented immigration. I know how much it will cost over a 10-year period. I know how much it's costing right now. It's incredibly expensive. Now, let me address the second point. Undocumented immigrants are actually primarily the victims of human trafficking rather than the main participants or perpetrators of that category of crime. Okay?
Correct.
A significant percentage of reported human trafficking victims
completely.
are undocumented immigrants, right? In a number of different ways.
Yes.
In a number of different ways. So that's important to consider as well. I want you to understand, you're bringing up criminal elements to undocumented immigration, that undocumented immigrants in the United States commit far less crime than American-born citizens per capita. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I agree with that. I just don't think there's needed add to that already. I live near
we
Chicago.
can break
I
up.
know about crime.
But we can break up criminal networks who traffic undocumented migrants without conducting mass deportation. We already have laws in place that stop these things from happening.
But when you see drug runners in Chicago, or cartels up in the northern states, and they've been operating for years, and I mean years. This is going, beyond Trump or Biden or Obama.
Amy, thank you so much, Amy. Amy, thank you so much. Sorry, dude. Go ahead. Amy in the chat.
So it just seems to me, on the criminal front, nothing seems to have been, nothing's worked. So where Trump shutting down the border as much as he did, where Biden said, come one, come all, we'll give you free cell phones and hotel rooms and losing kids, don't know where they're at, and they're getting abused or underpaying all the migrants because why not? If the businesses can pay them $3 an hour compared to someone getting paid $20 an hour, the businesses get rich.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just a spider web of problems. When
but again, you're
borders just
citing
left
something
open,
that's
then
not
you
a
don't
cost.
have a country, there's no border.
But then again, you're citing something that's not a cost of undocumented immigration. Undocumented immigrants don't drive down wages, okay? They compete with low-skilled, low-educated workers just like everyone else. The federal government drives down wages. Federal minimum wage in this country is $7.25 an hour. The Republican Party advocates against raising the minimum wage. Wages, lower wages, or the minimum wage in this country is not a result of undocumented immigrants. They work in sectors that are physically demanding, low-paying jobs to begin with, right?
Right, but they're not on record. They're basically, a lot of them are paying them under the table, cash, however they want to do.
Some are.
And they're avoiding getting held accountable for doing that. And where did that stem from? That stemmed from letting them all come in the first place, and then the business owners or whoever abusing the fact that they could take advantage of these people. Well, that wouldn't happen if they came through legally.
But it's not really. It's not really.
They wouldn't have been able to be taken advantage of.
It's not really, though. As I just previously stated, undocumented immigrants take jobs that American citizens choose not to do. Right, in agriculture, in construction, in the food industry, food service industry, and they have different labor market dynamics. Right, these sectors specifically are, number one, there's an abundance of these positions available, but number two, American citizens don't typically seek them out. They just don't.
Well, I guess for example, I'll do it because of the industry I'm in. I'm a truck driver, semi-truck driver. That's what I'm doing right now, is driving. And this has nothing to do with Mexicans or anything coming across, but they've been hitting the Indians hard because of all the illegal Indians driving trucks, not being able to read road signs. I'm sure you saw the Indian driver doing a U-turn on the highway and someone running into him, and that because of that killed 3 people. And then it kept happening. Then you start seeing more and more of these videos. And I was in Indiana 2 weeks ago, and I got pulled into a scale, and there was between ICE and federal agents and the state police there checking to see if you could speak English and read what questions if they needed to go past and what country we were from, because of the fatalities caused by these drivers.
Well, those are
how they obtain a CDL
because there's
being illegal. I don't think that should happen at all.
Well, there are loopholes, if that's what you're referring to, but I still don't believe this is a consequence that justifies. Again, here's the thing. What you're doing is you're trying to point out individual circumstances of undocumented immigrants potentially committing some kind of negative action, and then the point you're missing is that none of it justifies mass deportation. My point is that you could bring up, well, listen, this undocumented immigrant who went to Life Lake and Raleigh. Republicans typically use those as examples, none of which justifies mass deportation. There are loopholes, right, in CDL policies in some states, right, that allow individuals living outside of the country to obtain licenses. If you want to advocate that they close those loopholes, then do. Or tell states to not issue
right, but I mean
CDLs to undocumented immigrants.
I guess Trump's not the first person to deport I would say a shit ton, but he hasn't even deported as much as Obama did.
With the same consequences, though.
Threw a hissy fit.
Yeah, but the problem is Obama was president for 8 years. No, I don't. Because Obama was president for 8 years, and Trump just started this deportation operation, so those numbers are not comparable. And number two, the consequences are not the same in terms of the constitutional rights violations that are happening. American citizens weren't thrown on the ground and arrested and forced to provide citizenship. We didn't have racial profiling in terms of using race as a singular reason to obtain reasonable suspicion. If you're going to claim it was the same under Obama and you can't tell the difference, then you're being disingenuous. I think right? Turning on the television every day.
I'm not trying to say.
Okay.
I'm not.
So you see the difference then.
ICE going out and doing a sweep, but So they lied about Trump in the first term, saying he made those cages when it was Obama who did it. And they tried to make it seem like, oh, he's tearing people away from their families and put them in these cages when Obama did that. And then they tried to cover their tracks. And so which one, people in cages, people being taken off the streets, but nobody wants to.
Do you know anything
say
about
what
those
happened
cages
before.
you're referring to? Do you know that the cages you're talking
What do you
about?
mean?
Yeah, but so first of all, these are happening under the Trump administration. But number two, this was to keep families together, not tear them apart. I'm just saying. I think some of the conditions certainly could be questioned.
Right.
But
Right,
they were
and
to
they
keep
were saying-
families together. Trump is tearing them apart. So I just think it's a little bit different.
Well, that's the tricky part is because especially if they came to this country and had kids in this country, the kid is automatically a citizen because the parents, even though they're illegal, had the child here.
Right, but here you're missing
Right?
the point. The point is the
And
Obama
so-
administration kept families together. Trump has not prioritized keeping families together. Okay, there was some issues with Obama's administration that I was critical of, like overcrowded facilities. There were certain things I didn't like. But when you say this, don't say they're the same thing because they're not. While they did exist before Trump, right? They were expanded under Trump, and he certainly has given no consideration to keeping families together. So I think there are significant differences. But again, the point of the question is for you to come up with a justification for mass deportation, which you still haven't done. None of this justifies what we're witnessing happen, right? You can bring up individual circumstances of people obtaining a CDL. You can bring up the fact that people may traffic in this or that when even though American citizens are primarily responsible for participating in this category of crime, none of which gets solved by mass deportation. Mass deportation is bad all
and that's
around.
what the point I was kind of making.
You are,
You
though.
know, that's
You're
what
trying
the
to.
point I was trying to make, I guess, with Obama is he deported 3 million. Is that not considered mass?
So the issue with Trump's.
I mean, at what point?
I didn't say that he didn't conduct
It's
removals. I never
Optics
disputed
of
that.
ice in the streets or the quantity of people.
All right, you got to let me
So
explain
mass,
though. Let me
As
explain.
of right now, Obama still holds the
Okay,
record.
I already listen. You can bring up Obama as many times as you want. Obama's not relevant in this conversation, but in terms of the deportation themselves, Obama had procedural and statutory issues with his removals. Trump's removals have been unconstitutional. Okay, we've witnessed constitutional violations as a result of these mass deportations, and that's why I said to you before. If you're ignoring what you witness every single day when you turn on the television or in real life and see American citizens slammed against the wall and forced to prove their citizenship status, that didn't occur under Obama, and you know it didn't, so they're not the same. While there are procedural issues, while there were statutory issues, while I did have criticisms of those removals, they're not the same. It is different. And you can pivot to
Well, I
Obama,
guess-
even if it was. It wouldn't justify what's happening now. They are not the same. Nothing justifies what's happening right now. Are you telling me American citizens are not actively being affected by this mass deportation operation currently?
Believe me, I'm not saying that at all.
So
But
how were American citizens
I'm just
affected
trying to
under the
fathom.
Obama administration?
No, I'm just trying to fathom
Exactly.
if ICE has their hands
Exactly.
full now, right? ICE has their hands full now. How the hell did they not have their hands full back with Obama?
Because
3 million, that's a lot. And maybe it wasn't just covered like it is
Guy,
now.
Obama was president
Maybe
for
there's a lot
8
more
fuck.
eyeballs.
What are you not understanding? Obama was president for
Right.
8 fucking
So,
years.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How did they get rid of 3 million? How did they get rid of 3 million people? And what, they weren't going into neighborhoods? They weren't, I mean,
They were not
Where
doing
were they
you
picking
don't
up 3
have
million
to do
people
it
at
the way
over 8
so
years?
so Trump has made the promise to deport everyone who's undocumented. He told people if you're undocumented you should leave now because we're going to come and find you. We're going to get you. Right? That's why they're conducting this
Right.
operation the way they're doing it. Yeah, there's no consideration for the Constitution. Sorry to tell you, there was no constitutional violations. Don't ask me, there wasn't. That's why I specifically said there was procedural issues. There was statutory issues. There was not constitutional issues. There's been constitutional issues with Trump's administration. Surface level, I'm trying to get you to admit when you turn on the television, when you watch what's happening in our country, you didn't see those things happening under the Obama administration. So why are you okay with it? Stop bringing up Obama. Why are you okay with American citizens' rights being violated?
Rights are being violated.
Oh, my God.
Why are they in the areas?
This guy can't answer a
they
fucking
are
question.
searching for illegals, criminals, whatever,
They're not
and
criminals.
then they're subsequently checking American citizens' IDs.
Okay.
So I guess answer me this: since they are doing that, why are they doing that? If these are American citizens and they're just wasting their time checking their IDs and they're going to have to set them free anyways,
right.
all they're doing is wasting time.
No, they're not just wasting time.
I mean, correct? That they're not getting anything out of it.
What? Do you consider like it not a big deal that people's rights are violated?
No,
Is that just no big deal to you?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying what's the point? I'm saying what's the point if they're checking IDs, slamming people to the ground, and then they just have to turn around and release them and possibly
as we've
get
stated,
sued.
because as we've stated,
What's the point in doing
guy,
that?
you never shut up, so I don't know how to answer these questions, right? I don't know how to answer because you never stop talking.
I
right.
think I let you speak pretty
But
good.
you don't. You
I-
keep saying the same
I've been
thing
listening
over and
quite a
over
bit.
again. What's the point? What do you mean, what's the point? The point is that they're arresting people who they don't know whether or not they're documented or undocumented because they're racially profiling them. We're watching it happen. We're witnessing it happen. So I don't know what you're asking me.
and that's what I'm saying is it leaves them up to get sued or to be held liable in court in the future for doing that. So my interpretation of that is, what would be the point in doing that if they leave themselves open to getting in trouble or to getting fined or
Is it
sued
just
or
me, or
whatever
is
you
this the
might
stupidest
wanna
question I've
say.
ever been asked? What the fuck are you asking me again?
Okay, if a police officer, let's take immigration out, right, assaults an innocent person, they're liable to get sued or held accountable in court.
Yeah.
Same thing goes here. If they're trying to go after...
Wait.
US
Again, this
citizens,
isn't what I asked
why
you.
would we
I said,
let
why
them-
are you
I guess,
okay?
why would we
Okay,
letting
I'll give you an
themselves
example.
open?
I'm going to give you an example. Because they don't give a shit, because there is no accountability. But you're not really making much sense, okay? What I'm saying is, so the other day we saw a guy was walking down the street. He was from Brooklyn. He was grabbed, slammed against the wall, handcuffed, all because he refused to identify whether or not he was a U.S. citizen. This was a guy born in Brooklyn. We have had hundreds
And I think those
of...
people should be held accountable.
Okay, but this is one of the many
I-
consequences I'm talking about in regards to a mass deportation. There are
But when I bring up my
Holy fuck.
situations or examples of things that happen, you say, well, it might be this,
because it
or,
doesn't
you're just
justify
listing
mass
a few
deportation.
examples.
Because it doesn't justify mass deportation, as I've stated multiple times. We're talking about an operation that costs billions and billions of dollars. And I asked you, what justifies conducting mass deportation and the consequences we've seen? Not just constitutionally, right? The tax burden, right? There's a million different consequences. And I asked you what justifies those consequences. You haven't given
I
me a
guess I'm
single
going more
reason
from
why.
the legal front. If you don't go to your court date, fine. You don't go to your court date for becoming a legal citizen. You don't take the test. Out you go.
I don't know what this
like
guy's
you said,
talking
some of
about.
these people have been here 10, 20, 30 years.
Okay,
You,
good.
you tell me people that have been here for decades haven't had enough time to go to court?
Well, what are you asking me now? Are you giving me a consequence or not?
Well, there's been a lot of illegals that have been here longer
Stop
than the
calling
past
them
4 years that Biden
illegals.
was
You're
in
so
charge.
creepy. Stop calling them illegals. Okay? You voted for a convicted felon.
I mean,
Why-
if
Listen, let me ask you a question, because I never understand why you MAGA
the federal
guys...
government considers them alien.
Hey, guy, why do you fucking keep calling people illegal? You voted for a convicted
No,
felon.
but the federal government
Excuse me.
calls them aliens.
Did you vote? No, they don't. No, they don't, actually. Undocumented immigrants. So can you tell me really quick, why did you vote for a convicted felon if you care so much about people obeying the law?
Over a book writing error that if he would have wrote one check instead of 34 checks would have been one felony compared to 34, which was overturned over a supposed affair.
What are you talking
No.
about? You don't know what that case is about whatsoever.
The 34,
Why is that case?
The 34 counts
Yeah,
was one for
why
each
was it a
check.
felony?
One. It shouldn't have been a felony. They
Why was it?
literally made up. It was already past the statute of limitations. So one, he shouldn't have even been tried for it. They already passed the statute of limitations.
Yeah, but that changed under
So they
COVID.
had to-
No, it didn't, because it changed under COVID and Trump
They
resigned.
had to turn it in.
Why do you keep all right, you finish speaking and then I'm going to speak and correct everything you're saying. Say everything you need to say and then I'm going to speak and correct it. Go ahead.
Okay, for one, it was past the statute of limitations. They turned it into a different charge to get him on the felony. Because they couldn't get past the statute of limitations, they changed the wording on it. So that's how they were. And for each charge, it was one for each check. One for each check that was written on this booking thing. Because either A, if he would have put it under campaign finance, he would have been in trouble. Or B, since he did it personally, he still got in trouble. So no matter which way he would have written said checks, he would have gotten in trouble. Is what the government was trying to do.
Okay.
So he was damned doing it one way or damned doing it the other way.
Okay, my turn now. Okay, enough of your misinformation. So number one, Donald Trump was convicted of a felony rather than a misdemeanor because the charges involved, yes, falsifying business records in the first degree, which is a felony under New York law. Why? Because it requires the intent to commit or conceal another crime, okay, which makes it a felony rather than a misdemeanor. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, Donald Trump's conviction was not barred by the statute of limitations because of a COVID-19 extension. Okay, a COVID-19 extension. Did you know that? Cuomo issued an executive order in 2020 that told, or do you know what told means? Paused the statute of limitations for criminal cases, right? So that extended the filing deadline.
Okay.
Okay. Number two, Donald Trump, right, spent time outside of New York. When you spend time outside of the state you're being convicted in, that further suspends the limitations under New York law. So the combination of tolling due to the pandemic and Trump's absence from the state provided the basis for filing charges outside of the normal statute of limitations. And that's a reality.
Okay. To me, it's a technicality, but yes.
Not a technicality. It's a fact.
Well, between COVID and if you go out of state, that seems like technicalities, and yes.
It's not. What do you mean technicality?
If
It's the law. It's New York law. It's New York law.
Yeah, well, when they say they got you on a technicality, that's law. That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
But you're
Well,
saying
if you leave
you're
the state,
trying to make it seem
it
as if
pauses
this is something.
everything.
Yeah, well, they were, but that's because of COVID. Regardless, right?
But don't
This
you-
is the
but
statute
don't
of
you think
limitations
they
for a
knew
Class
about
E.
this?
Again, it doesn't matter what it is. It's the statute of limitations for a Class E felony, such as first degree falsifying business records,
but-
5 years.
Right, falsifying business records to conceal a crime.
Well, yeah,
So what was
falsifying
the
business
crime?
records to hide campaign finance violations.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. And they said he was violating campaign finance laws. But where did it come out of the campaign money? It didn't come out of campaign money. It came out of his own money. So that's where I was like, well, this is BS. It's not coming out of campaign funds, because if it did, well then yeah, you got him. But they're saying because he paid out of his own money, it was still a campaign finance violation. I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense. If it comes out of my bank account and it has nothing to do with what was donated to my campaign, how am I getting charged with campaign finance violations? That to me that doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's the
Now,
law.
if you want to say, well, no, it came out of the campaign funds that were donated to him, then fine. I agree
But
with
it
you
was
100%.
made to influence
Those
the
funds are not
election.
supposed to be
But
touched.
again, the point is that the money is made to influence the election outcome by silencing potentially damaging information. Okay, that's what you're not understanding. So although the money did not come from any official campaign account, its purpose, right, the reason that it was concealed is a campaign finance violation, right, concealed by falsified records. It's the intent, right, why they refer to this as an election interference case, very specifically, is because he wanted to keep a story from the American people to minimize its impact on the campaign, right, to silence this potentially damaging information.
Now, I believe if I'm right, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't these payments start happening before he even was running?
What do you mean?
Before he even started his campaign?
No.
The checks, when he started sending the checks out.
No, he did this because
Wasn't
of his
it
campaign.
before he even...
No, he did this because he did this because this was weeks. What do you mean before? No.
Like, did he start sending checks?
He was running for
before
office when he did it. Yes.
The campaign
He
started.
was he was running for office. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's nothing weird
But,
about this case.
you know,
I don't know why
don't-
Trump supporters do this.
Well, to me, sending checks to, you want to call her a porn star, whatever, and to me, violating campaign finance is using those funds, not your own.
Mm-hmm.
I know the law is different, but
basically,
I just think
the point
that
is that you have to look at the
in
intent.
the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, you have to look at the intent, right? The intent to conceal another crime. That's what causes it to elevate. That's just a fact.
Well, and I think it was kind of I don't know what the word I'm searching for, but for her to come out as he's making his run for presidency wasn't timed that way on purpose, or wasn't influenced that way on purpose, is kind of setting him up. You know, she had plenty of time to do it before that, right? If everything really happened the way she said it did. But it wasn't until he ran that she's like, oh, by the way, Trump, I want this amount of money. I mean...
So here's the point. As I've laid this out for you.
That sounds to me like extortion. To me, that sounds like extortion.
Here's the point, right? As now that I've laid out for you that he broke the law. You can't use the standard of your law in regards to undocumented immigration when you voted for a convicted felon, right? He's a convicted felon. The state of New York convicted him. You understand why he's not in prison, right? Or why he didn't receive a specific sentence. He got an unconditional discharge 10 days before the inauguration because Judge Merchan didn't want to interfere with his ability to govern. Not because he didn't commit a crime or not because of the seriousness of the crime, but because clearly he didn't want to interfere with that ability. Those federal cases were dropped simply because, they were dismissed without prejudice because the Department of Justice has a longstanding policy that they don't prosecute sitting presidents. But regardless, he would have been convicted on those two federal cases as well. So I don't think you care too much about the standard of the law, or you wouldn't have voted for a convicted felon to be in the highest position in government, right? I don't think you would do that, right? So in regards to undocumented immigration, I find it hard to believe that you care about, or that your standard is people must follow the law. When you looked at these 4 criminal indictments and a criminal conviction with an unconditional discharge and said, okay, well, what you didn't have the unconditional discharge, but you had the conviction, and you see these happen and you go, okay, well, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump to be in the highest position in government, but I really care about the law. People who cared about the law voted for the prosecutor, not the felon.
Well, and to me, I think he was being extorted by her, as it was a perfect time for her to come out and get top dollar for what had happened, because it's not like it happened a month or two before he decided to run for presidency. She waited, and she sat on it. I mean, that has to be agreed upon. She said she could have done it years before, and she decided, no, there's no point. But as soon as he runs for presidency, oh, by the way,
well,
you want me to keep this quiet?
Yeah, but it's not. It wouldn't be extortion. In order for it to be extortion, you would have to. There would have to be like some kind of coercion or
blackmail.
How is it blackmail?
Blackmail?
I don't think it's blackmail.
She wanted payment, or else she was going to tell everybody. Like you said, he was doing that to keep her quiet. Like, you know, that was violating the campaign finance laws by keeping her quiet. That's why we're sending her the payments. So
yeah, but
she wanted those payments to keep her mouth shut, and then even after she was paid, she still didn't keep her mouth shut.
But blackmail. But
that's
again,
how it all came out anyway.
She didn't make an explicit threat to reveal the information. They volunteered to shut it, to make sure that story never came out. In order for it to be blackmail, she would have had to say, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this. She never made any criminal threats demanding that they pay, or I'm going to do this. That never happened. Right? There was
I just don't see Trump shelling out money for no reason at all, unless there was something said.
Listen, people make these deals.
I don't think
people
make. Like, oh, by the way.
Listen, it happens all the time. Like with famous people I know, like they will come to an agreement to keep something under wraps, right? Like so an affair doesn't get out publicly. No. But this issue comes in when we start talking about the fact that it's related to his campaign. Right. So regardless, let's be clear, right? Let's be clear about something. Hold on. Let's be clear about something. Even if she had threatened to reveal information, right, damaging information, it doesn't excuse the illegal campaign finance violations by paying to conceal it. So it doesn't matter regardless. But you can't claim, I don't know if you know this, but blackmail defenses are not accepted as justifications for falsifying business records or violating election laws. They just aren't. Right? The case focuses on whether Trump properly reported the payment, right? And then if he accurately recorded it in his business records, not on criminal threats. Sorry, man. You voted for a convicted felon.
Well, and that's why I guess my original.
Go ahead.
And that's where I guess I'll go back to my original point is those payments that were made, I believe, you know, through the attorney, were, how am I going to put this? Were meant to keep her quiet for a reason. And whether it was the campaign or to keep her quiet because, I mean, I would argue, whether it's true or not, hey, I don't want my wife to find out. I mean, if it was him not running for presidency, if it was just him doing it without running, be like, well, I didn't want my wife to find out. How are you, I guess, you're giving a reason that, oh, he's doing it so nobody finds out during the presidency.
He didn't, but he didn't make the payments. But he didn't make the payments immediately following the affair. So what you would look at is the timeline of events. If the payments are not made immediately following the affair, then that dismisses the idea it's about his wife finding out, right? The encounter happened a decade earlier in 2006. Trump was not a political candidate in 2006. The hush money payment was made in 2016. Okay? during the final weeks of his presidential campaign.
Right, and
So you have to look at the timeline of events and
And that's-
see that it's timed to prevent her from revealing the affair and affecting his campaign. If it was about if it was about his marriage, then he would have done it earlier. So the timeline of events debunks this completely.
well, unless she never threatened to bring it out before.
As I've already stated, there were no
She
threats.
could have
being-
threatened to bring it out at any time. I mean, she could have brought it out in 06. She could have said in 2010. What
do you-
happens if she just never said anything
There-
like, I'm going to release this information?
There were
that
no
you had
there
an
were no
affair?
threats made. This has already been gone over. But again, I'm going to explain to you the delay between the affair and the payment is all the proof you need on why they consider sway voters. Because if it was about his wife, then you would have done it immediately after.
Okay, but then why all of a sudden? I just don't see Trump going out there and making a payment to hush someone up unless they said something in the first place. Like why
Because of
was
his
someone- he had an affair
campaign,
with someone
Guy.
back-
Are you not understanding? Because of his campaign.
So he hasn't talked to her supposedly in years, and he's going to all of a sudden have his attorney or whoever contact her and say, "I'm going to pay you this just so you don't say anything,
So,
even though you
as
haven't
I
said
s-
anything."
well,
for the
as I
past X
stated-
amount of years.
Well, as I stated previously, it wouldn't excuse the finance violations anyway. It wouldn't excuse falsifying business records to hide campaign finance violations, even if she did. Right? Again, this happened in 2000.
Well, I'll give you that 100%. I'll give you that. I'll concede on that.
okay.
But
So
I
it
do
doesn't
not
matter
concede
then, right?
that nothing was said from her.
Well, no, I
believe
think
that
she,
she
no,
didn't
she
say anything for years.
I didn't know. No, she didn't make a threat. No,
To
it's
me,
not.
that's a threat.
No,
Well-
it's not. Telling the truth is not a threat, dude. That's not a threat, dude. Sorry to tell you.
But you waited. You waited in the corner until he's running for president,
No, it's not
and
a
then
threat.
say,
though.
"Now I'm going to release this."
Well, it's not a threat, though, is what I'm saying.
But what I'm saying is, why didn't she do it before? She wanted to hurt him on purpose, and she waited for him to do something, meaning running for president. She's like, perfect, my time to strike. And then turns around and says, I'm going to release that information. You want to say it's truth. I say, well, it's a threat. If you don't pay me
Okay,
this,
well, I'll explain
this
to
is
you.
what's
I'll
going to
explain
happen.
to you. Well, that's fine. But in case you don't know, she actually was the person threatened. She was the person that they made threats to. Okay? She was threatened. She says because of those threats that she didn't like him for whatever reason, but you're leaving out why she didn't like him. Okay? He said all sorts of negative things about her and threatened her. There's no proof that there was any blackmail. And I'm surprised you're not as outraged at the affair itself. Like, why are you not outraged by the affair? Does that not bother you?
Oh, it does. I'm not, believe me, when I said 80-20 or 90-10 with Trump, I meant that. I'm not 100%. I could have gave Democrats great advice
again-
how to beat him, and they wouldn't have taken it.
So again, someone comes to you and says,
You know,
"Listen, keep your
I
mouth
have plenty
shut."
of friends that are Trump supporters.
Okay. If someone comes to you and says, "Keep your mouth shut," and she says, "No, I want this story to come out. I want to tell the truth." You know, that's not blackmail. That's not blackmail.
Well, they wouldn't have just came to her and said, keep your mouth shut unless she said something first. That's what I'm just thinking logically.
That's
would
not
have
how
had
it
to
went
said
down.
something first for them to come around and say, keep your mouth shut. I just don't think they would have blatantly come out, keep your mouth shut, even though she hasn't said anything for years. Why all of a sudden would she want to say something now? Unless she said she would.
Okay, so
That's just
again,
logically,
do
that
you
doesn't
remember
make
the
any
stuff
sense.
do you remember the stuff about the that Stormy said about she was confronted in a parking lot? This came out during the trial, and this random person walked up to her and said, "Leave Trump alone," and then implied she could be harmed if he mentions Trump again. And then the person mentioned her children or something.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
So that was in either 2010 or 2011. Okay, somewhere around there. I can't remember. But the point is that you get that threat, right? And then you get money saying you need to keep quiet by his attorney, right? And she says, listen, I fear for my safety. I'm being pressured to maintain my silence. You know, I want to come out and tell the truth. These are clearly people trying to protect Trump's interests. So she says she wants to tell the truth. You have it backwards. He's the one threatening.
I'm not saying you're not right on half of that, but I think the other half.
Well, it came out during
something in the
we talked about it during the trial. The point is, he's a convicted felon. So that's the point. He's a convicted felon. And I explained in detail why he is. I've given you a pretty good explanation. Your standard is not the law. By the way, for all the MAGA,
and to me,
for all the MAGA crying in the chat, I am forever your father. Go ahead.
But like I said, I'm 80-20 on him. I could give you just a few reasons why I don't like him, but I'm overall for him. I think the paying a porn star and violating finance laws, everybody says you don't. Well, he's a convicted felon, will make him sound like a murderer. And to me, paying a porn star checks for hush money, I guess, is the least of my worries. I would consider the only of the checks.
Well, that's what I would say, but that's why I'm saying. Well, I mean, I would consider the infidelity followed by threats and then the timeline of events. You know, but here's the point that you're not getting. The entire reason we got here. The entire reason we've gotten to this point in the conversation is because you claimed your standard is people must follow the law. And then you took me down this road of questioning whether or not the conviction was legitimate or not, right? But the truth is we got here because you were claiming that your standard is people must follow the law. You don't give a shit about the law, and that's simply what I'm proving. You don't care about the law. You question the law repeatedly. And so I ask you, right, in the name of humanity, to forget about the fact that these people potentially committed a misdemeanor and get on board with protesting against ICE when they treat these people the way they've treated. They're tearing families apart. There's little kids have been zip tied in the street, right? Like, we've seen American citizens thrown on the ground. We've seen documented people who have been here for decades thrown on the ground. These billionaires, right? This administration has done everything they can to convince you guys undocumented immigrants are the people to blame. They are not the reason for your problems. They are not negatively impacting your life at all. So stand up for humanity.
I still do think they put a strain on our system.
They don't, though.
They've put a strain on Great Britain's system. Well, they do, especially hospitals, right?
They don't.
Someone has to pay the bills. Who's going to pay it?
But they don't go to hospitals. But undocumented immigrants only go to hospitals for life-sustaining care. So I've explained this multiple times.
Not in California.
Okay, so first of all,
California is known for it, and hospitals have shut down.
All right, you speak, and then I'll finish.
Because nobody's paying the bills. Nobody's paying the bills for the hospitals. So I personally have lost my doctors around Chicago because not hospitals, just normal doctors' offices have closed down. The healthcare system is obviously under undue strain.
It's not,
very much
what
under
healthcare
strain, and the money
system?
has to come.
You're out of your
somewhere.
freaking mind. So let me explain something. No, it is the same.
Who pays the doctors?
Excuse me. This is a federal law. Do you know what the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act is? EMTALA. This is a federal law.
No, explain that.
Okay. So first, let me ignore this fucking guy calling. So basically, hospitals must treat patients, including undocumented immigrants, regardless of their legal status, if they're in life, if they need life-sustaining care. You can't turn away people, right, who are dying. And I don't want to live in a country where people are dying or in labor and show up to a hospital and we turn them away. I don't want to live in that country. Do you? No. So It's life-sustaining care. In California,
No,
they
I
have
agree
access
with
to the
that.
same thing, life-sustaining care. Okay? Undocumented immigrants, right, show up to the hospital. They don't get follow-up visits. They don't get annual visits. They don't go because they have a cold. They receive life-sustaining services, right? Now, if you're talking
No, but
about
I
do
know
they
they won't
get
be turned
health care,
away.
but again, if you're talking about do they receive health care, that's a different question, right? Because California has a state-funded Medi-Cal coverage for certain people, right? For certain undocumented immigrants. But that's a completely different conversation. Okay, and they are going to be freezing that in 2026 anyway. For people that are older than 19. But regardless, we're talking about emergency care, labor and delivery, life-sustaining services are mandated.
No, but if they have like the flu, right? And if they
No.
don't have health care
No,
and they go to the hospital's not going to turn them away.
not unless
The
they're
hospital will
enrolled
not
in
turn them
Medi-Cal.
away.
Not unless they're
If I,
enrolled
like-
in Medi-Cal.
I've personally gone to the hospital when I didn't have health care. When I was out of a job, I didn't even get a chance to enroll. And they took me in.
You're an American citizen,
So
dude.
if
What's
I
the
didn't show them any
relevance?
proof of insurance,
But you're an American citizen. What's the relevance?
exactly, the relevance is if I was able to go in without any health insurance card, without any health insurance, they didn't turn me away, it wasn't life-saving care, the illegals can
But-
do the same thing.
No, they
The
can't.
same exact thing.
Oh my God. So they can't turn. No, it's not the same fucking thing, dude. It's not the same thing. You're wrong. Okay? You're wrong. I don't know what to tell you. You're incorrect. If you're talking about whether or not someone in California is on a state-funded program, right, to cover certain undocumented people, that's a completely different conversation. But going to the hospital for any type of care outside of people on Medi-Cal benefits, they would receive life-sustaining medical care. And that is the case for everybody. Life-sustaining, not a cold. A cold, no, they would be turned around. They would be turned around.
Okay, if that's the case, why wasn't I turned around with no health insurance, no anything?
Because, wait, you were turned around. So they obviously, you didn't have health.
I wasn't turned. No,
You received
I
the
wasn't
bill.
turned around.
You received
I
the
was
bill.
accepted. Yeah,
Yeah, you received
and
the bill.
and that's what I'm trying to say.
It's
They
not the
will
same
receive
for
the bill,
undocumented
and they
immigrants.
won't pay said bill.
So let me explain something to you, right? This is reimbursed. This is reimbursed, right, through Medicaid, and it accounts for less than 1% of all Medicaid spending. This is just not something that's a consequence of draining the healthcare system, regardless. You should look it up.
If there's, let's say, millions of undocumented immigrants here, and half of them used the hospital once a year, say once every 2 years, and they didn't pay those bills, that's still a decent chunk of change.
So,
Because then the hospital covers the bill. How do I know? Because I didn't have the money at that time to pay the bill when it came in, and I eventually got a letter saying the hospital covered the bill. So I didn't have to pay a bill.
Yeah,
So
but
if
they
there-
only
if
receive
I didn't
life-sustaining
have to-
care, as I've told you multiple times. As I've told you multiple
But that's
times.
what I'm trying to explain. I still got in. I didn't have
You're not
life-saving care without
undocumented.
health insurance. They still took me in.
This guy just doesn't listen. Like, he's now comparing himself. Okay? Again, I don't know how many times I have to say the same exact thing. Okay? If outside of, like, Medi-Cal coverage, they would get life-sustaining treatment. Or outside of state coverage, depending on what state you're in. It's not every state's the same. You would receive life-sustaining treatment. That's a fact.
Right, but you just said 2 minutes ago they would get a bill.
No,
If they
you
went to the
would get
hospital,
a
they got
bill.
treated, they would get a
You
bill.
would get a bill. And if you didn't, depending on your income, you could potentially, I don't know, depending on your situation. I don't know. Do you have health care right now?
and besides the health, and then the SNAP benefits.
Are
I
you
know they get
listening to
that.
what I'm saying? I'm asking you a question.
I didn't hear the question.
And, again, that's
It must
what,
have broke up. I really didn't hear the question. I'm
okay.
sorry.
What I'm simply, again, dude, you're not listening to me. Do you have health care benefits now?
Yes.
When was this that you did this? When did all this happen?
I would say about we'll call it between 2 to 3 years ago. Yeah.
So again,
definitely 3 years ago.
why don't you? It's not absolute everywhere, and California is a little different. But all I'm trying to explain to you is that non-emergency coverage for undocumented immigrants is not largely unavailable federally. It just doesn't happen.
I think I would push back on that just a little. 911
because I'm just tired of you just saying things you think without any sources.
And let's say
it's about
just something needed.
Okay, so what I'm saying is a lot of states
Sorry, what was
restrict. I'm trying to explain to you that a lot of states restrict health care access for undocumented immigrants to emergency or life-sustaining care only. So it depends on what state you're talking about. California is a little different with the Medi-Cal system, okay? But undocumented immigrants don't receive Medicare or Medicaid. You do know that, right? And I need a source if you're going to tell me that I'm wrong again.
Oh, no, I wasn't even making that argument where they get Medicaid or Medicare or anything like that.
You're saying that they don't
can
receive
go in
life-sustaining
straight into
care.
the hospital.
That's not true.
No.
They are limited federally they are limited to receiving life-sustaining care in most circumstances. I don't know how many times I have to say this. It's just
what I'm pushing back on is
do you have a source? Do you have a source? Do you have a source?
I'm trying
because what you're arguing, that's why you brought up California specifically, because they expanded their full scope coverage for undocumented immigrants. But most states limit access mostly to emergency or life sustaining care only. So federally, undocumented immigrants are ineligible for Medicaid or any marketplace subsidies. They get life-sustaining care only. Do you have a source to disprove what I'm saying, or are we done?
I wasn't making the argument for Medicaid or Medicare.
But you're arguing that they can go. No, they
any...
can't. Do you know what life-sustaining care means? Stop saying they can go in. So you're saying an undocumented immigrant can go into the hospital and then decide to get annual care and routine care? Not true.
I'm not saying annual care, routine care. I'm saying it.
That is routine care. You're talking about routine care.
And get brought to the hospital.
Life-sustaining services.
So you're saying they can't call 911 and the ambulance will show up and turn around and say, no, we can't bring you?
Life-sustaining service. Yeah, they won't turn you away. But it's life-sustaining services. So it's emergency care. Emergency, and it's not paid for. It's not paid for. What? What are you saying?
If I was undocumented, right?
So if you have a cold, if you have a cold, can you just walk into the hospital and say, "Treat my cold"?
If it's late at night and there's no doctor.
Bro, you're an idiot, like legitimately. If it's late at night, the fuck are you talking about?
Well, the doctor's offices are usually open till like 5.
Oh my god.
So
anyway, can you give me, if you can't listen, let's just simplify this. If you can't give me a legitimate consequence of undocumented immigration or give me a fiscal burden, right? Give me, what's the fiscal burden? Give me something to justify mass deportation.
Well, I would say housing market to start.
Okay,
Housing,
you got to go deeper
rents.
than that.
Let's encapsulate that. Well, the way the housing market is right now, obviously it's been upticked on the price of everything, whether it's rent or housing in general. It has skyrocketed. With the all the illegal immigration that has happened, and they need somewhere to go. Now, I gave the example before of hotels.
Can
And
you
they
just give me an
overloaded that
example of how they
system.
contribute to the housing crisis? Just hurry up. How do they contribute to the housing crisis?
Well, they're given money, Section 8, whatever it may be, to get into houses or apartments or condos where other people might have needed those houses that were legal. Like say their circumstances changes. where they were
Undocumented
homeless. I would
immigrants.
say the
Undocumented
homeless and the
immigrants
veterans
aren't
and everything
eligible
else
for Section
should be-
8. Undocumented immigrants are not eligible for Section 8 housing assistance. Dude, listen, let me tell you something. Can you tell me, do you think that undocumented immigrants receive federal benefits? It's federally restricted to U.S. citizens and lawfully permanent residents and refugees and asylum seekers, right? And certain
Yeah.
specific eligible
Yes.
non-citizens, but mostly asylum seekers.
Yes, and a lot of those that came were
Those are
saying
not
they were asylum
undocumented
seekers.
people. Those aren't undocumented people. You are wrong on everything you say. You don't know anything, and you are incredibly confidently stupid. Like, legitimately, dude. You are
Well,
incredibly
you just
confident.
said they give benefits to the asylum seekers.
Yeah, asylum seek. Wait. No, I said asylees. Okay, and also, asylum seekers are lawfully present. You know that, right? So either way, it doesn't matter what I said. Because asylum seekers are technically lawfully present if they're legally seeking asylum.
Right, but are they still undocumented or are they citizens?
They're lawfully present.
That's-
They're lawfully present.
Well, that's the glitch, isn't it? There are people saying they're asylum seekers, and there's ones who just cross the border illegally. So you give a excuse why you're coming across, and not saying all of them aren't valid. They're definitely
Regardless,
are
they're
a lot that are
they've applied for asylum. So they have a legal process to request certain things, right? And then they're technically temporarily permitted to stay in the country while that case is reviewed. So I would refer to them as lawfully present because they're obeying the law. The law, right? The law says that they can stay here, right, while they review their application, while their case is reviewed. So that's somebody that's lawfully present.
right.
Yeah, if somebody's lawfully present if they're going through the
But
process
how-
of seeking asylum.
And I guess that's where I was making my point with the homes, with all the millions that came across in the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell are they getting in homes, apartments,
What do you mean?
making
how are
minimum wage like you said before?
I didn't say they're
low
making
wage,
minimum wage.
Low
I said
wage
they're low
workers
wages.
making very little money, low wages, and sometimes probably below minimum wage. How are they getting into apartments and houses when U.S. citizens who have 600, 650 credit score can't go out there and get one?
So,
How can they be getting all the houses and apartments, and they're not homeless? Meanwhile, we have homeless veterans on the street who should get those at least apartments.
okay, but we don't have a
Something.
housing shortage as a
But
result of
they get
undocumented.
handouts, they get cell phones. You know what I'm saying? They were getting money to come into the country. They were getting cell phones, put in the hotels, somehow getting into all these homes. I'm not saying there's a home shortage. I would say
Yes,
there's
you
a
are.
startup home shortage, but not a home shortage. But it's putting undue strain on the housing markets. Because
I
a
disagree.
starter home,
I disagree.
let's say for a
You have to
beginning
consider.
family, 1,400.
So
1,400 square foot
undocumented immigrants typically live in like overcrowded situations. They don't like they don't live in one person to an apartment kind of thing. They live in, like, they share units, right, with people they work with or family members, right? Secondly, like, you do understand that these homes are undocumented people and renovates these homes. So mass deportation actually results in a housing shortage, not their presence, right? Large scale deportations like what Trump is doing actually reduces housing supply growth because you lose labor. So it actually worsens a housing shortage.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I didn't even think of that. Some of my friends are carpenters, do build houses and things like that. Mm-hmm. They get paid very good money. And I know for a fact, them being in that industry, the undocumented do not.
Do not what?
To do the same work. So that's they don't get paid the same amount as American citizens do.
No,
they're getting underpaid.
Well, they're mostly
so
laborers, but they're mostly laborers. Yeah, they're mostly laborers, but they're not making
right. But
wage.
The same labor that's American is getting good money. I mean,
it depends.
My friends
no,
who
not
are
necessarily.
doing that same job are making $70,000-$80,000 a year at minimum to build houses. They're not getting anywhere near that. They're not touching.
So your
that
friends are hiring undocumented
because
immigrants.
they're undocumented.
So your friends are hiring undocumented immigrants.
No, not a single one. Nope, not a single one, because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to get in trouble, and that's was way.
Then how do you know how much they're
making?
Excuse me. Then how do you know how much they're making? Just out of curiosity.
Because they have a lot of friends who are also in that same industry that are business owners, and they do go to Home Depot or go here or go there to pick up workers. Same jobs.
Laborers.
My buddy at his company, laborers.
Yeah.
Do.
Again, of course,
so they're doing the same job as my buddy's employees.
Yeah. So that's not. I mean, again, like
that's why I'm saying. It's
but
like
what you're not understanding is like you're just proving that their labor is abused, right? That they often get abused, and there's not much they can do because they can't call the police. So when I think of that, I feel bad for them, right? I feel something in my heart like, yeah, this is wrong, and you're actually laughing about it, which is quite sick. Right, you know that sometimes I'm not
laughing about it whatsoever.
Well, I don't think anything about it is cute or funny. I think it's really sick how people steal their wages. Like business owners will steal their wages, right? They'll fire them after doing their job and just not pay them, right? They don't have the same protections as American citizens.
Had the legal status, right? If
they force
legal
them
status
they force them to work
United
far
States
more
citizens.
dangerous jobs as laborers than American-born citizens do. They don't have any union benefits, right? So obviously you're going to have a pay disparity if they're non-unionized, right? That's another major reason why. But my point is that the industry relies on
I don't necessarily think you
Stop talking for a second. Stop talking for a second. The point is, right? The point I'm making entirely, right, is that the industry relies on their labor. Okay? It relies on it. And American citizens don't automatically fill those positions when we conduct mass deportation. We actually see labor shortages. We're talking about between 20 and 30% in some regions. And American citizens just don't fill those positions because, yeah, they're tough jobs. They're physically demanding jobs. And these are good people just trying to better their life. I don't understand why you guys have so much hatred for these people. I do not fucking get it. I do not understand why you want to find reasons to make them look bad. I don't get it.
To me, I'll agree with you. These are really, really hardworking people.
Good people.
If they've been really hardworking people good people for years and everything like that, why couldn't they take a little bit of time to become a U.S. citizen?
Because
how long does it take?
It can take years.
If you've been here 20 years.
It can take
but if they've been here 20 years,
time.
But a lot of these have shown no effort to try to become.
That's not true.
No effort at all. And then when they ask, well, why did you not go to your court hearing? They said during the Biden administration, all these immigrants coming in, they all were given court dates. And they said that's been going on for years. They all were given court dates and court dates.
So, first of all,
So
I just
with
wanna-
all these judges that, okay,
I'm just trying to make up. I don't know what you're citing specifically, but the point is to make this broad claim that they're not trying to, when we have a very limited, highly regulated pathway to legal status, is not fair. Okay, we have a pretty strict criteria in this country, right? And we have lengthy backlogs. So to say that they're not trying to
I
become
agree.
legal is insane. And this is why I'm telling you that I think it's far more productive to grant mass amnesty and give those people a pathway to citizenship. Doesn't automatically grant them citizenship. You give them a legal pathway to citizenship. Knowing their contributions, as we've gone over, why would you be opposed to granting mass amnesty?
I would say I guess I'll compromise and meet you part of the way. I would say give mass amnesty to everybody before Biden let the doors open, and then go through case by case with
What?
the rest.
Why?
Because
Why? He didn't let any
that's
doors.
still
Oh my
a
God!
lot of people to go through.
All right, man.
Because any other president said come one, come all. Not anyone said come in, we'll give you money, we'll give you hotels and this and that and places to stay,
No
and
one
really
said that.
didn't vet check.
He didn't
too
say
many
that.
people.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that. And secondly,
People
those
were
are you're
literally
talking.
coming across.
Oh my God, you're talking about state benefits. These are not federal. They're not. The law explicitly prohibits them federally from receiving benefits. So you're talking about at a state level. Do you know what the Statue of Liberty is, sir? That's not Biden who said that.
Yes.
Okay, what does the Statue of Liberty symbolize?
Well, I would say back then all the people coming over from Europe to be immigrants.
Wait.
The
Don't say
Americans.
Europe. What does the Statue of Liberty symbolize? What does it symbolize?
I would say the nation built on immigrants.
Yeah, well, that's part of it, certainly, but it's to welcome and hope
That-
for immigrants arriving in the United States. Just period. Okay?
Right.
Universal reach. Universal reach. Universal reach.
But does that mean you want nobody to be vet checked when they come in? That
No, it
millions
doesn't mean
can
that.
come in.
No, it
and
doesn't
there's
mean
no
that. It
way
means I want
that
Americans.
you could vet check.
No, it doesn't mean that. It means I want Americans to stop demonizing undocumented people and look at logic. Okay? I've broken it. I don't know how much more clear I could be in terms of their contributions and deflecting away from these negative stereotypes about them. Okay? And I don't know why. Do you understand the legal
Well,
process? Do you understand the legal process for seeking asylum? Because you keep bringing up asylum as if you don't understand. What is the process for seeking
Well,
asylum in the United
I
States?
know the legal process is they give court dates out to those legal asylees to show up, so they view each case and they determine which ones can stay and which ones can't. But if you don't show up for set court dates, who are they sending out? Especially 4 years ago. No one.
Okay, so what
Or
is the
let's say 8
requirement
years
for
ago, or
seeking?
10, 12 years.
Hold on. Let's just talk about affirmative asylum here. What is the rule for seeking asylum in the United States? Right? There's two main pathways. But let's talk about affirmatives of
Well, what do
asylum.
you mean?
Give me what
You come from like a war-torn country? Is that what you mean? Or
you must be physically present
Or-
in the United States. Period. You must be physically present in the United States. You don't have to enter through a port of entry. You know that, right?
Okay.
Did you know that?
Well, I would assume you would have to be physically present to enter.
Yeah, but the point is that the requirement is that you're physically present. People have this idea that you're applying for asylum at a port, that you have to apply before you enter the country. Applying at a port of entry is a way to do it. But I just wanted to make sure you were
Right.
aware of that. You keep demonizing asylum, and I'm not sure why. If you're trying to refer to people exploiting the
Well,
system or something, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, and that's the thing I think that needs to be changed, because anybody, a drug smuggler, a sex offender, anybody could say, I'm an asylee, and you're present and you can be let in the country.
Okay, but
I
we
think that's
know
wrong.
that. But again, we can just look at statistics and see that undocumented immigrants commit a very low portion of crime, specifically violent crime like sex offenses, right?
Well,
it-
I'll agree with that, but I don't think it should be added on top of our already problems with crime. I think adding, even though it's low, is not a good thing. So, an immigrant driving drunk and killing someone
Oh my God.
wouldn't have happened if they.
So then why are you not concerned? So if but
You
the
know-
point I'm making, like in terms of consequences of mass deportation, is that if you wanted to reduce the rate of
And they
DUI,
murdered someone.
excuse me, if you wanted to reduce the rate of DUI related homicide, then guess what? You'd be focused on American born citizens, not undocumented immigrants. Therefore, that can't be a consequence of undocumented immigration. They don't contribute to a rising crime rate. Undocumented immigrants commit very low
Well,
portions of crime.
I agree with you on that. If they focus on the American, problem with crime, but if that was the case, the cities with the strictest gun laws have the biggest gun problems. Chicago, and I know 500
Fuck.
murders a year
This guy's
is a problem,
nuts.
and that's from American citizens. So if you're adding, and I'll agree with you, at a lower rate of criminals coming in, it's still adding to the problem. It's not
Okay, so
subtracting.
we can just look at studies
You're
that
still adding criminals.
okay, regardless though, there are studies out there. I think the American Journal of Public Health has a study. If you want me to pull it up, we can read through it, that there is no increase in DUI arrests or significant like DUI related deaths as a result of a higher presence of undocumented immigrants. Undocumented immigrants are a lot less likely to engage in drunk driving. Why do you think that is? Just common sense. Because undocumented immigrants avoid law enforcement. They don't want to be near law enforcement in any way. Why would you work so hard to come over here to get pulled over because you were drinking? Right? They avoid law enforcement at all costs due to fear of deportation. So what happens is Republicans take these high-profile cases, right, and they try and highlight them as justification for demonizing an entire population of people rather than looking at the data from multiple states to confirm that there is no statistical link between larger undocumented immigrant populations and higher rates of alcohol-impaired driving deaths. And this is the problem that I have with Republicans, is you guys refuse to look at the data, but instead tokenize and mischaracterize and take these high-profile cases and plaster them all over Fox News to try and convince people that they're out here driving drunk and killing people and contributing to a rise in DUI-related death. That's the issue that I have. I just want the truth. If they were contributing to an increase in DUI-related death, then guess what? I would say, well, that's seriously a problem. We need to figure out how to fix it. But it's not the case in any category of crime, because undocumented immigrants come here to better their life and avoid law enforcement out of fear of deportation. And every credible study out there proves that I'm right.
But I guess my point is more simplistic than that. Is you're going by percentages and studies on how much immigration has contributed to crime compared to not. I'm saying overall, the added crime that is happening from any sort of immigration that's not legal is still a problem. That
All
it's
right.
still added. Those deaths.
All right, man. Well,
What's
listen,
gonna
I'm going to move
happen?
on to the next
Or,
person. You can call
you
back
know-
another time. I appreciate you calling in.
Okay.
All right, man.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Whew. Holy fuck. First of all, let me say thank you to everybody who contributed to the gifting goal. I appreciate it. That was a tough debate because that guy was not That guy was, well, first of all, I appreciate everybody who sent a super chat. If you guys would like to support, you can do that. You can also support in the link tree in my bio. My Venmo and stuff are in there if you'd like to support that way. If you guys want to become members of the channel, would appreciate it. If you guys are new here, I'm debating every single day on YouTube now. I actually come from TikTok. I'm new to YouTube. I just came over here. So if you guys would like to subscribe over here, you certainly can, and I would appreciate it. ASMR Addict in the chat says, dude, you're wrong at every level. Listen, stick to rubbing feathers on microphones, all right? That seems like something you're good at. Stick to that, right? Don't worry about these things. I don't want you to hurt your brain. I don't want you to hurt your brain. Stick to rubbing feathers and slime on microphones and shit. Your guys' hatred for undocumented immigrants is sickening. It's absolutely sickening. And your support for the felon, 4-time indicted, civilly liable fraudster is also disgusting. You know what I'm saying? Trump and Epstein sitting in a tree. Why are Trump supporters okay with the Epstein stuff? Why are Trump supporters so okay with the stuff with Epstein? You know? They seem to like be fine with it. Isn't it crazy? Marianne, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. You're so sweet, Marianne. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the support, Marianne. Seriously. I appreciate your love for them. I don't just love one group of people. I love everybody. I love you too. You're just a little goofy. So listen, are you a Trump supporter? What's your first name and where are you from?
Hello?
Yeah, hello. What's your name and where are you from? You got to speak up. Chat needs to hear you.
Is Mario from Baytown, Texas.
Okay, Mario, do you have me on Bluetooth? You need to take me off Bluetooth and put me on speaker, okay?
Yeah, hold on. Can you hear me better now?
No, because you have me on Bluetooth.
Hold on.
Bluetooth.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I can hear you better now. What's going on? Are you a Trump supporter? Keisha, thank you so much, Keisha. No. Thank you, Keisha.
Yes,
I really appreciate that.
Supporter. I'm sorry, my bad.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I was a Trump supporter. We were fooled by him, brother. You know?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Would you have to repeat? What was that?
I was a Trump supporter, but I did not think he was going to do all these lies he was going to do. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
When he talked about the criminals, yes, I agree with that. But he's taking all the good, hardworking guys that me, as an American citizen, I won't even do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a welder.
Right.
So now, that said, you know, the guy that was talking about the food stands, that they take all this, you know, the one you had earlier.
Yeah.
The point is, none of the people that I know that are illegal in Baytown, Texas, brother, they don't get that privilege.
Yeah.
They don't get that privilege that we do. They work their butt off.
I hear you.
Know?
I hear you.
All of us do. But then this is the thing that gets me, brother. They keep saying, oh, you know, SNAP and all that. But I live in a town where there is a lot of drugs. 99% of Caucasians are the ones that are using food stamps, actually selling the food stamps to buy opioids.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Here's the thing, right?
So,
just so we don't have to go over all this again, right? I just don't want to go over repeating all the same thing again. When it just comes to crime, generally speaking, it's not a consequence. Not that you can't find a case where an undocumented immigrant may have committed a crime, right? As I said earlier, and it was kind of the point I was trying to prove, is that Republicans take high-profile cases, right, rather than taking data from multiple states to confirm some kind of statistical link, like a person who wanted to be honest would, right? They take these cases and then they mischaracterize and tokenize them to make undocumented immigrants look bad. It is tired, it's old, it's frustrating, and I'm just done with it. But thanks for calling in, dude. I have to run. Thanks. Take care. Listen, somebody in the chat said, why don't you fight this hard for American citizens? This is what I'm doing. What are you talking about? I do fight this hard for American citizens. This is for American citizens. It's for everyone. American citizens are the ones that suffer the consequences as well as undocumented immigrants. You just don't know it. Carolina, stop thinking that you're better than someone because of your documentation status, okay? That's a really gross way of thinking. What's your first name and where are you from?
Did you hang me up? I'm sorry. It was Mario.
Oh, yeah, Mario. I got to run to do debates, but thanks for calling in, dude.
Okay. Thank you, brother. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you, buddy. Take care. Hey, Eldon Traub, thank you so much. We just love American. Okay, well, whatever, Eldon. I don't know what that means, but thank you for the $1.99. Appreciate you. Thank you, Eldon. Appreciate you. My mic is trash. No, my mic's not trash. Right? You just have a Razr flip phone. That's why you think my mic is trash. Because you have a Razr flip phone that your mom bought you. That's not my fault. Right? I didn't buy you a Razr flip phone. Don't be mad at me. Don't be mad. Be glad. Hey, listen, I know a lot of people are suffering from this winter blast in the Northeast. I know there's a ton of people right now suffering from this winter blast.
Carter.
Carter, are you a Trump supporter, Carter?
Hey, what's up?
Are you a Trump supporter?
Depends. Will that get me kicked off the call?
No. Are you a Trump supporter or not, Carter? Answer the question or you will get kicked. All right. Have a good day, Carter. All right? Have a good day. Marianne, thank you so much for the $1.99. We need Chuck Schumer out. I agree 100%. I am not happy with these Democrats that caved. That being said, do I understand that Republicans weren't going to come through? Look, here's the point. You had all the moment. The issue I have is that
Greg.
The issue I have is that you had all the momentum. The entire country was blaming Trump. Everyone was mad at Republicans, right? I don't know how you expect to actually force change when you cave. Wow, you called in to do that? That's really cool. Dana, thank you so much for the 4. Dana, I really appreciate you, Dana. Dana, thank you so much for the 4. Seriously, on Cash App, thank you for the Cash App, Dana. Appreciate you.
Call from
Josh Amos.
Josh, are you a Trump supporter, Josh?
Yes, sir.
And why are you a Trump supporter, Josh?
Just because I just trying to do the right thing.
Okay, you got to speak up really loud, Josh. People got to be able to hear you. So speak loudly.
I think he's trying to do the right thing. I think he's.
Do you have me on Bluetooth, Joshua? Josh, do you have me? Josh, do you have me on Bluetooth, dude?
No, I don't. Is that better?
Now you don't have me on Bluetooth. You switched it.
Is that better?
Yes, that's better.
No, it was on. I had an OtterBox case on it, and you didn't hear.
Oh, that's okay.
I think Trump is just less evil right now. I mean.
Okay. Can you elaborate, please? Here,
but,
give me 1 second, dude. I really have to use the bathroom. So dude, listen. I have to use the bathroom really bad, and I wanted to hold it for this debate, but I can't. So just hold on 1 second, okay? Do you hear me? I'm just going to use the bathroom really quick, okay? Just hold on 1 second. Okay, thanks. It'll only take a second. Sorry about that. We're back now. I just could not. I could not hold that anymore. Let's bring this guy back up here. What's going on? You there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
So, like I said, I think Trump is just the lesser of the two evils, honestly. So, as far as being a Trump supporter, I think the whole thing's a soap opera. You know, I've tried to call congressmen for the last 6 years. I can't get a hold of nobody anywhere.
So why do you think Trump is the lesser of two evils specifically? Like, I mean, what about Trump makes him the lesser
than Kamala Harris?
Kamala Harris, why? Why though?
Less than Kamala Harris, absolutely, because the country was already weak. At least with Trump, we have some strength. It might be strength in the wrong direction, you know, but at least we're not getting F in the A anymore.
I don't know what you mean. You have to be more specific for me.
Well, economically, on the World Forum, as far as just as a country, we were looking like clowns. I mean, we still look like clowns, but at least we look like clowns that might bite your face off. I'd rather look like that than look like it.
Did you say geopolitically? You know, I'm sorry, I had to take my headphones off. Did you say geopolitically?
Yeah, just on the world stage.
Okay. How are we looking on the world stage right now? We're closer to World War III than we've been in years. Donald Trump's inability to negotiate in the Russia-Ukraine situation has caused us to do. Russia's now actively provoking war with NATO.
You think? Don't get me wrong. I believe Donald Trump might possibly be the second coming of Satan, or whatever that
wait.
is. I don't know about
a second.
The thing, but I know that Aleister Crowley.
Dude, you just said
go ahead.
Trump might be the second coming
and he's still the lesser of the two evils.
Hold on, bro. You just said Trump might be the second coming of Satan, but yet you think he's the lesser of two evils in this circumstance?
Exactly.
Okay, how is that the case?
How do I think he's the second coming? Because I did some research, and that dude was Aleister Crowley was out doing opening portals and things out in the desert.
What?
And they prayed for a moon baby, and then the next lunar eclipse in 1945, Trump was born. Do your research, man. It's crazy, but that's the truth. So, I mean, as far as that goes, you know.
What does this have to do with Trump being the lesser of two evils, you little weirdo?
At this point, I'd rather be looked at as evil than weak.
Okay, so Trump's not the lesser of two evils then? Your argument is that you equate strength with evil.
Well, no. Strength isn't evil. You know, government's evil. So, strength is strength. It doesn't.
So I'll ask you one more time. How is Kamala Harris the lesser of two evils? You little shoe.
No. She was the more of two evils.
Okay, Trump was the lesser of two evils. How? Sorry, I misspoke.
Correct. Just in a way that what the country needed. It was more what the country needed, right?
Okay, so then he's not the lesser of two evils. So let's take this argument back. How do you think he's doing geopolitically? I think his inability to negotiate has caused
the whole thing's a soap opera. It doesn't.
Okay,
the whole
did
thing
you
is
vote?
A soap opera.
So
it doesn't even. Oh no! I stopped that years ago.
So you didn't even vote, bro. You're just
I realized.
All right. Hey, listen. Where are you going?
I realized there was no point to it.
Are you on your way home?
Well, look. Once I saw.
Are you on your way home? You're home.
No, I'm at home.
Okay. Where are your pajamas?
Who knows? I don't wear them.
Okay. Is your bed nearby?
I'm on it.
Okay. I want you to pull up the covers.
My home is a bed.
Excuse me.
I'm homeless.
I want you to go to bed. Have a good night.
Oh.
The day is over for you. The day is over. Yeah. Sometimes I tell Trump supporters on TikTok, wear your pajamas. Where'd you put your pajamas? Wherever they are, put them back on and go back to sleep. You absolutely need to vote. Yes, you do. You need to vote. Dear Lordy, people. I get all these Trump supporters calling when I'm on a call, and then when I stop calling, they never want to be the first person to call. And I love these knuckleheads in chat that are like, you won't answer my call because you know that I'm a Trump supporter and I'll own you. And then I'm free to call and they don't call in. Oh my God, this Timu Obama guy just said the most ridiculous thing in chat. Guys, if you're new here, if you haven't subscribed yet, I would appreciate subscribing. If you haven't, I don't even know why I can't set this fucking... Like, why is it asking me to... I don't know why it's doing that. Oh, yeah, I know. I get a lot of Trump fanboys in here, you know. They love me. They really do. They secretly love me. Trust me. Trust me. It's really a love-hate thing, you know. Yeah, no way you've been winning any arguments. Okay, Jacob. Whatever you say, buddy. Whatever makes you feel better, Jacob. Whatever makes you feel better, Jacob. If that makes you feel better, then whatever makes you feel better, my son. I'll do whatever I have to do for my children. And you MAGA men are my children, right? That's just a fact. Why don't I like Trump? Because he's a fascist. I don't like Trump because he's a fascist. That's why. Yes, you can call in anytime you want. Go ahead and call in. Sorry, I had do not disturb on. Because I have to put it on when people are calling to make sure that beeping noise doesn't happen. I cut that off. You can call in now. I didn't realize it was still on do not disturb.
Call from
Carter.
Carter, I already told you. I already hung up on you, dude.
Call from
Robert.
Robert, how are you?
Good. How's it going, man?
I'm good. Are you a Trump supporter?
Am I a Trump supporter?
Robert, this is a political live stream. I'm a political creator. Yes. Are you a Trump supporter?
Yeah, I'm a Trump supporter all the way.
Okay. And why do you support Trump?
You know, what I really think is, we finally have a leader in this country that really cares about the United States, our country.
Okay.
You know, it's just like every year or every time I'm president, it's all about some kind of charity, you know, or you know.
Okay, listen, I don't
They
know
always
where...
want to, you know, put their hand in the cookie jar, you know, which is the taxpaying dollars.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You know, they think that, you know, and then they always want to give. What do you mean? Like, I mean, hey, you know, I mean, who did you do? Are you a Trump supporter?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not? Why aren't you a Trump supporter?
Because Trump is a fascist.
As a fascist?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. I don't think he's a fascist. I don't think he's a fascist at all.
What's fascism?
I mean, dude, why would you think he's a fascist? Why would
Do you know what fascism is?
He's a fascist?
Do you know what fascism is?
Yeah, Yeah, but you obviously don't know what it is. If I know that he's not a fascist.
Okay, so you don't know what
Why
fascism
would you
is.
think he's a fascist?
Guys, look at these knuckleheads in the
Why-
chat telling me my phone's not working while I'm on the phone. Such numbskulls. So, yeah, he's a fascist for a number of reasons, but do you know what fascism is? I need you to tell me so I know
what
what.
fascism is.
Okay, what
But
is
he's
it?
not a, yeah, but you're dude. Let me tell you something. Okay, I'm a Hispanic Latino. All right. How is it that I
Congratulations.
support him, but you sound like an American
I am.
Caucasian,
I am.
and you don't support him?
No. What does that have to do with anything? He's fascist, okay? You think I should support him because... Wait, are you claiming I should... Wait, excuse me. Excuse me. Are you claiming I should support him because you're Latino and you like him? Is that your argument? I should support him because you're Latino and you like him?
You know what my argument is? No. You should support him because he protects us, okay? He protects America. All right.
Okay, how? Explain how he protects
If you go
America.
too far left, if you go far too left, your American life here in America is going to go down the drain. All right.
Okay, tell us how he protects America.
Do you have kids by any chance?
Yeah, can you stop yapping?
Do you have kids by any chance?
Yeah. So can you stop yapping?
No, you're the one who asked the questions over me.
So I'm just going to ask you one more
do you
time.
have
I know you're scared to answer. Do you know what fascism is?
No. Do you have kids? Yes or no?
It doesn't matter. It's none of your business. Do you support fascism? Yes or no?
Yes, it does.
Listen, I'm gonna hang up on you. I'm gonna hang up on you. I'm gonna hang up on you if you don't. I'm gonna hang up
in the
on
United
you.
States of America, you have
Listen,
a privilege.
listen.
And he's protecting your rights.
I'm going.
to talk.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So
Now,
since
if
you
you go
don't,
too far left, and Chuck Schumer and Obama and Biden.
see you, dummy. You think you're just gonna come up here and yap your mouth? You're fucking dreaming. You think we're gonna sit up here and listen to you? See you later. You don't want to let me talk because you don't know what fascism is. What's your first name and are you a Trump supporter? Hello?
Hey, yeah, my name is Richard. I am a Trump supporter.
Okay, Richard, you're a Trump supporter. Why?
You know what? Let me. I apologize. Let me pull over real fast. Because my truck is bouncing around. And I'll tell you why I'm a Trump supporter compared to what the Democrats do and stuff. So, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, they went ahead and opened the borders. They let transgender people into. With all that being said, Trump is trying to stop all that stuff. You know, because being transgender is just a mental illness. A woman cannot be a man, and a man cannot be a woman. I don't care what you got to say.
Okay. So
I mean, you can be gay all you want. I got no problem with you being gay. I got gay friends.
Transgender has nothing to do with being gay. Okay. So you don't know.
No, I understand that. I understand that. Well, if you're transgender and you're a man and you're dating another man that's transgender, that would make you gay, right?
Is this something you think about a lot? Is this is what you think about when you think about the concerns we have in this country?
No. What I'm saying is Trump is stopping all this stuff. All this crap that Kamala Harris did and Joe Biden did, and even Obama. Obama started off because his freaking husband, whatever you want to call it, Michael, is transgender himself.
All right, so here
and that's where basically all started from.
Okay, that's great. So again, let me ask you a question. Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
What does it mean to be transgender? What does that word mean?
It means that a man wants to become a woman or a woman wants to become a man. You can't do it. Your chromosomes are not let you do it.
You don't know what transgender means. So let's not discuss this.
I just said it right now. I just said it.
That's not what it is. You don't.
I just said it.
So have you
I
ever?
just said it.
So let me
A
ask you
woman
question.
wants
Let
to
me
be
ask
a
you
man,
question.
and a man wants to be a woman.
Okay, let me ask
Your
you a question.
chromosomes will not let you become a woman.
Listen,
I just said what
shut
it
up.
says.
Can you shut up for a
Oh my
second?
gosh, bro. See, you can't win,
Shut
bro. You
up.
can't win.
I know you're.
Yeah,
so
you get
tough.
some retards on your phone call.
Can you
But see,
shut
you
up?
want me to shut up because you don't want to hear what I got to
Can you
say.
stop. I don't want to hear. I'm not
Okay,
giving
then
you.
what? Okay, then what's a transgender?
I'm not
then?
giving you a platform.
Okay, then what's a transgender?
Can you shut up or I'm going to hang up on you? Last chance. So number one.
Yeah,
I'm
because
not
you ain't
going
got the balls to fucking debate me.
You're not.
Because you ain't got the balls to
you're
debate me.
not
That's why.
debating, okay? And you can't use the R slur, okay? Goofball. That's not debating. You screaming about your hatred of transgender people. That's not debating, okay? I was going to ask you one question and you wouldn't even let me get it out. So, what's up? Are you a Trump
Awesome.
supporter?
Zoe?
Zoe, are you a Trump supporter?
No, I fucking hate the bastard.
Okay. Well, I am looking for Trump supporters, but I'll give you 15 seconds to get it off your chest.
All right. Well, how come we can't just get the CIA to shoot him in the head like we shot JFK?
All right, goodbye.
What's
Goodbye.
the deal with that?
Because we don't advocate for violence here. So you shouldn't either.
Call from
Nate.
And if you advocate for violence about anybody, you get kicked. So goodbye. Nick, are you a Trump supporter? Nick, are you a
yes.
Trump supporter?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and why are you a Trump supporter?
For me, there's quite a few reasons. Mainly, economic protectionism is a big one for me. Just economic nationalism in general. I supported Bernie in 2016 and was a big Bernie bro. And through him kind of moving away from this policy, I kind of just ended up naturally gravitating towards Trump. And it wasn't until maybe around 2019 that I found myself kind of being like, all right, I'll vote for him. So I voted for Trump in 2020 and 2024.
Okay. I think that's weird as fuck. It's kind of weird. What else? Why else do you support Trump?
I do appreciate his whenever he excoriates the media, just because I found myself
How old
getting
are you?
so tired with the mainstream press. I'm in my late 20s.
Why do you care about that? That's not. That's something you think about when why you support Trump.
No, that's more just like kind of a wedge issue thing. Like on the actual substance, I would more say a big part's economic protectionism. I mean, I think that globalism has pushed a lot of jobs overseas. I would like it if some of those jobs came back, even if they're going to be heavily automated. There's still going to be a massive technical sector of jobs to maintain and repair the machines that are creating everything. So, I mean, yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that Trump has a level of strength to him in case there were to be any type of conflict in the Indo-Pacific. China invading Taiwan, I think it's going to happen inevitably. I don't think it can be stopped, but
Yes, it
I
can.
think that Trump could potentially be a good. Okay, well, explain to me how do you think it could be stopped?
Well, that's why they haven't invaded them already. I don't think that's imminent. Why you think that's going to happen under the Trump administration?
I'm hearing potentially could happen next year, but I don't know. They said that it would happen.
Well, I mean, Trump says that's not going to happen. So if you support Trump, I think it's kind of weird that you're saying it's inevitable because Trump says he's not going to let that happen. He's threatened them, as a matter of fact.
Well, I think there's a high likelihood that it does happen within the next decade.
Next decade.
Yeah, I don't know. I support. You're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, another reason I support Trump is he is. I think Trump.
Do you
is
think
more
Trump has
dovish than a lot of
done?
people
Do you
give him
think
credit
Trump
for.
has done a good job geopolitically handling some of these conflicts outside of this
I
situation?
think he's done a pretty good job. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I definitely think he's done mostly a good job. I was a little worried with the whole Iran situation, but that has seemed to have come under control.
Why do you think that's a good? Why do you think that's?
Trump
Why do you
has
think that's a
been-
good move? Hurry up, because I don't have much longer left. Why do you think that's a good move?
Well, the bombing of their nuclear facilities kind of got me a little shaken up. I was worried about that because obviously it could potentially be seen as a huge
Of their
escalation. I'm sure you would say it is, and I would agree.
It's enrichment facilities, but
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Those are two different things, but go ahead.
I think that he's been critical. I think that he's been critical enough of Israel, but I would like to see a bit more of that. I'm not a fan of Israel, not at all.
Agreed.
So I'd like to see him be a little bit more pointed towards
Agreed.
Netanyahu. I'm not a big fan, and I think that you and I, and I think you and most Trump supporters would actually have a lot more in common than you don't have in common. I think all of us do.
No,
and
I do
think
with
that a lot of these wedge issues.
But here's the problem, right? Broadly, and I'm only going to say because it depends on each person that I talk to, but in most Trump supporters that I speak to, they have not wavered when it comes to Israel. I mean, you think that you would see, if that was the case, then why didn't Trump supporters speak up after he dropped bombs on those enrichment facilities? Don't you think that that would have been the moment, right? Because you understand why they did that and why the United States did that instead of Israel dealing with it themselves, right? And you understand the whole scenario, right? Like, what's your level of knowledge on why this occurred? Because really, in terms of intelligence and whether or not they were going to produce a nuclear weapon, relied largely on Israeli intelligence and Benjamin Netanyahu himself claiming that they were 2 weeks away from developing this weapons-grade enriched uranium for the purpose of creating a nuclear weapon. And he's been saying that for decades, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the problem that I have is like, why are Trump supporters not dumping their support for Trump when he sees, I mean, Netanyahu's the only person he pulls a chair out for, right? So he's been saying for decades that this same claim about Iran, and I'm not saying Iran should have a nuclear weapon, but why is the United States doing this on behalf of Israel? Like, I don't understand, like, you know, like this is where if that was the feeling of Trump supporters, if Trump supporters were largely critical of his support of Israel, that would have been the moment to speak up. That would have been the moment for people to say, you know what, this guy's bought and paid for.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like, I think that Israel bullied the United States into doing this. Like, I think Netanyahu was essentially like, look, if you do this, President Trump, then we will go ahead and sign the ceasefire and we will end this war immediately. And then that didn't happen. I mean, obviously,
right.
We bombed their enrichment facilities, and then a ceasefire thing was on the table. Both sides signed it. Israel just violated it ridiculously. And I would agree that I think Israel is committing a genocide. And I'm not a fan of them, but I do think that Trump getting rid of Mike Walls, who was apparently an Israeli mole who was secretly communicating with Netanyahu at the White House over this. I think, and I you know, when he was like, both sides are, you know, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like, I think but I agree, he hasn't been hard enough on Israel.
It's
and
not even
all
close.
presidents ultimately.
Come on, man. Hard enough. He conducted a large-scale military operation for Netanyahu as a favor because they don't have these specific bombs to crush these facilities. And by the way, in terms of its effectiveness, we don't even know long-term if it did anything, because ultimately, if there's no diplomatic approach to this situation that results in like intrusive inspections to ensure that Iran doesn't start just rebuilding and trying to develop weapons-grade enriched uranium and ultimately developing a nuclear weapon, they're pissed off. Nothing's stopping them from just doing it again. And we've heard now that they potentially have enrichment facilities that both Israel and the United States are unaware of. So I don't understand how you're not more angry if you don't support Israel. That to me doesn't make sense. That's almost like you're overlooking it because you don't want to stop supporting Trump.
No, like, I understand a lot more could be done. I just don't know if we could like right now, I don't think it's possible there could be another president who would be as critical or as caught, like, just not critical, because I don't want to say he's necessarily been critical of Israel, but there's been moments where he has been. You know what I mean? And no other president really has. And I don't think we'll have a president for a long time who is truly going to tear into Israel and Netanyahu and its leadership and say, look, you guys are the bully of the Middle East, not fucking Iran. Like, let's be real. Israel is the bully of the Middle East.
I agree with you.
So, yeah, I mean, but I'd like him to do more. I really wish that he would.
Well, again, that's why I'm wondering why you're overlooking it. It's not going to change over the next few years, right? We've seen their relationship has grown stronger.
The Israel lobby's too big.
I don't know. In regards to President Trump, though, I don't know. I think that's much deeper. I don't know. Again, they obviously have way too much influence, but again, like I said, that was simply a favor, right? That was a favor that I think ultimately could cost us in the future. And just an example of his unwillingness to say no. I would have told him to get lost. I would have said, no, I'm not going to do this, right? Why would I do this? You deal with it yourself. There's other ways to deal with it if they wanted to, outside of just dropping those bombs. I would not have done that. I would not have done that. And again, just in terms of its long-term solution, can you name me one other time historically where we have, successfully disarmed a country without diplomacy?
Well, it's never happened, so that I know of.
Right. So then why is it? Then this isn't a solution, right?
Yeah, I would agree. It's not a long-term solution. Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's not. It's not a long-term solution. So you potentially just made things worse because he's friends with Benjamin Netanyahu, and you still support him.
Well, like this is just one issue, right? Like everything's a mosaic. Like no matter who's president, I'm sure there were things when Biden was president that you didn't like. I mean,
how do you think he's negotiated the situation? How do you think he's negotiated the situation in Russia and Ukraine?
Well, he's tried to put pressure on both Russia and Ukraine to sign this. I think that he put a lot of pressure on Zelensky because Zelensky was, trying to kind of push his way. I would say Zelensky kind of pushed Biden around a little bit when Biden was president, pushed the country around, and Trump kind of tore into him, maybe a bit too much. And he's put some pressure on Putin as well. But the whole claim, is he's going to end the war in 24 hours when he becomes president. Obviously, that's fucking bullshit. Anyone who thought that was going to happen just doesn't know what they're talking about. The war has kind of cooled down a bit.
Say that last part again?
Ultimately, it's not ended. So
it hasn't cooled down. What are you talking about?
The war is not quite as hot as it was a couple of years ago.
It wasn't that long ago. They recently launched the deadliest attack since the beginning of the war. Russia's actively provoking NATO. What are you talking about?
I would agree, but I would actually say that long-term NATO has been one of the biggest drivers of this war in Ukraine through violating the Minsk Accord and continually putting nukes and joining NATO countries on their border, which they agreed wouldn't happen. Okay, but yes, I would agree that Russia right now is doing that. I would agree with you on that.
Okay, but it doesn't say that there can be no eastward expansion, if that's what you're referring to.
It was not 1 inch east of Germany is, I believe, what was said. So
wait. Said where? Said
in the Minsk agreement.
There is
and
no.
I believe that was in the late 90s.
You're incorrect. The Minsk agreement does not have a provision that talks about its eastward expansion. That's you don't know what you're talking.
You know what? I think you're right about that.
I know I'm right about it.
Okay, I don't know what I was about.
So can you tell me where? Can you?
That's cool.
Can you
I was about to tell you. I'm about to do that. I agree with you, and I actually think you're right. And I was wrong in this particular instance. I think that it was the wording that was said in person,
correct,
and that's not in writing. So actually, technically, you're agreed. Yeah, you're right about that. You're right. I have to agree with you on that. So I totally forgot about that.
So like when we talk about NATO's responsibility, there is absolutely no legally binding treaty that prevents the eastward expansion of NATO. So why would you blame NATO as it's a defensive alliance?
So So what happened when Russia put nukes in Cuba?
I don't understand the relevance.
So Russia put nukes in Cuba, and there
Right.
was almost a nuclear war.
Okay,
Like,
Cuban Missile
the
Crisis.
United
What's
States
the
freaked
relevance
out.
to NATO's? Okay, but NATO's
So,
wait,
like,
excuse me. That's
you
an
know-
offensive. I just told you they're a defensive alliance. What was the original purpose of NATO?
A defensive alliance, but
But
what
what
they've
was
been
its
doing is
original
not
purpose?
defensive. You
But its
see?
original purpose was to stop Soviet expansion, right? Defensively.
Yes.
Okay. What's its purpose today?
Well, I guess it's a defensive alliance, mainly aimed at Russia, obviously.
Okay, so then it's false equivalency when you bring up the Cuban Missile Crisis. Let's be clear.
Well, okay, but I mean, I don't know if I'd agree with that. Like, putting nukes on Russia's border is not really defensive, is it now?
What do you mean? What specific?
I wouldn't like. Okay, so when Russia put nukes on our border, that wasn't defensive. That was obviously a very aggressive move. So when the United States through NATO has put nukes on Russia's border,
as a part of a
I
number
wouldn't say
of
that
other
that's
factors, but yeah. But where has NATO?
Well, yeah, the countries wanted them there, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, but they haven't deployed any nuclear weapons like directly on Russia's border in recent years that I can recall. So I don't know what you're talking about. It's a false equivalency. I know that Russia itself has deployed tactical nukes, but not NATO.
On its border?
To Belarus, which borders NATO countries.
Oh yes, okay. All
so
right.
You
All right.
there,
Well,
they've
yes,
extended
that's true.
their footprint
That's true.
closer to NATO's eastern flank. So Russia really has been the aggressor. I just don't see the justification for blaming NATO as it's largely defensive. That's I get concerned when people start, because I'm going to be honest with you. When you first, and I think you're being intellectually honest, so I will give you credit for that, because
I'm trying.
It usually takes 45 minutes for me to convince Trump supporters it's not a part of the Minsk agreement. And then they bring up, obviously, a handshake that was also debunked, and there is no binding, just proving to them there is no binding treaty. But I just think it's a false equivalency. That's all. And I think the blame can't be on the back of NATO. Charlene, thank you so much for the 5, Charlene. Thank you so much for the 5, Charlene. So just explaining further, Russia has largely been the aggressor in terms of extending their nuclear footprint closer to NATO on its eastern flank.
Well, you also have to remember though that all of us in this country and in the West, we're operating off of our media, right? And we can't take everything that they say at their word, right? Like, there's obviously the State Department does control what the media is allowed to say. And let's not pretend like we're not propagandized, because ultimately we are. Like, there are things that Russia is right about that we don't believe are true, and same things vice versa. I would agree, obviously, that Russia's media apparatus is significantly more propagandized towards its people than here in the West.
Right.
But
That's what I was going to say.
I'm not going to pretend like we're perfect.
Well, I was just going to say. That's
I'm not
exactly
going
what I
to
was gonna say. Yeah, I was just about to say, well, they get state media, so to bring that up, Russia's, their propaganda is far worse. And if somebody even speaks out against Putin negatively, they get killed. So, but I'm not going to say that we're not propagandized, because you're not wrong, because we invaded countries just recently during GWOT, and that was solely based on propaganda. And we had the American people convinced it was justified to invade Iraq because there were connections to 9/11 with zero evidence, but people were so pissed off that they supported that campaign, which in my opinion was just straight up genocide, terrorism. You killed, between 1 million and 2 million Iraqi civilians. But the point is, anyway, in regards to this specific situation, when I look at this situation, I can't see how you can't just blame Russia. So understanding that, why are we treating Zelensky the way we're treating him? Because Biden's policy was pretty simple. It was pretty straightforward, right? I'm not meeting with Putin unless he leaves Russia, unless he leaves Ukraine. right? I'm not going to sit down with an authoritarian who's bombing civilians. By the way, conducting war crimes, unaliving entire towns of civilians. I'm sure you're familiar with the Bucha massacre, the deportations of Ukrainian children to Russian-occupied territory, all of the things that have gone on there. And Trump did the opposite. He laid the red carpet out for him, right? Kissed his ass, tried to flatter him, flew B-52 bombers over his head, flew in the car with him, just did everything that you shouldn't do, in my opinion. It only ever results in emboldening a dictator like Putin. I mean, even if you look at his meeting with Kim Jong-un, that only resulted in nothing but North Korea using propaganda against his own people, right? They signed a comprehensive agreement. It was broken weeks later because these authoritarian dictators will use and abuse you and use your meeting as propaganda to legitimize their regime. So I don't think it was a good idea to meet with him. Trump thought he could play Putin. Putin played him, and now, no, it's worse than ever. Trump's advocating for ending the war at the battle lines when they control 88% of the Donbass region, which means that Ukraine would not be able to recover economically and ultimately would fall back in the hands of Russia anyway. This is an example of his inability to negotiate.
Yes, but you also have to remember that Ukraine was shelling the Donbass and they killed between 10 and 15,000 people. So Russia views this as liberating that region. And also, let's not pretend that Ukraine has been perfect here and they've like, okay, putting massive amounts of military munitions underneath civilian buildings, which has been confirmed by Amnesty International, not a right-wing source, by the way. There is a systemic pattern of Ukraine putting military occupations in civilian areas, and then those military installations getting bombed, and then crying, "Oh, war crimes!" And it's against.
Oh, come on, man!
We'll do that, by the
way.
So Ukraine, they know what they. It's the fog. Listen, it's the fog of war, man. Like all countries do.
But
this. United States
it's their country. But it's their country,
Dick
man.
Cheney,
it's their country.
You're right, Isaac, dude. I'm with you. Ukraine, Russia should. I'm with you. Russia shouldn't be there. I get it, but that's still kind of a nasty thing. And all countries do this. I mean, Dick Cheney supposedly he told fighter jets to stand down, not shoot down the planes in the Pentagon. And, there might be some Israel connection. I don't know how you feel about that, but we don't need to talk about that.
But here, outside of this, it doesn't matter anyway. I can provide proof that Vladimir Putin has targeted civilians. Right. There's proof of that. You do understand that, right?
So I have no doubt. Vladimir Putin.
Well, you understand that there's.
And I have a hard time believing.
You understand what the ICC said, right? You understand that he absolutely has committed war crimes. You're not denying that. So it doesn't matter either way, right? Would you agree he's conducting
no,
a genocide?
I don't deny that at all. And I also have a hard. Well, I don't know if it's exactly a genocide because the people are genetically so similar to his own people, but you could call it that, I suppose. I mean, I would say what's going on in Israel and Palestine is definitely more closely. It's pretty blatant what's going on there. But yeah, I mean, I do have a hard time believing that Putin gets out of this world. I have a hard time believing he's going to die without doing something drastic. But who knows?
Well, I actually agree with that. I agree. I've said that multiple times. Like it's almost like a Hitler type situation, and his back's against the wall. Will he consider deployment? I think he will. I think he'd use it in a second. I'm surprised. I think. Go ahead.
I think backpack nukes. If it doesn't happen from an Islamic group in Europe, and that'll happen in Europe before it happens in the United States. Let's be clear about that. But if it doesn't happen from some rogue, whatever ISIS Islamic thing in Europe, then Russia, I could definitely see some type of mini.
Get it as a result. You might get it as a result of this
in the United States as well.
You might. Listen, you might get it as a result of this.
Yeah, I actually the Palestine-Israel thing, I could definitely see that potentially happening. I could also see a false flag. Let's not think that Netanyahu and Israel wouldn't do something like that to preempt the United States to go all out like we did in Iraq and just bomb brown people because they look vaguely similar to the people who were involved in 9/11 or whatever. It's who knows what's going to happen. But whatever, it's probably not going to be good.
But all I'm saying is it absolutely could come from Vladimir Putin in this circumstance with Ukraine. I mean, it's not out of the question that he uses a tactical nuclear weapon.
Tactical nukes.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm only talking about tactical.
That's terrifying. That would be very unfortunate.
Well, what's more terrifying is that when the president is asked about these circumstances in regards to triggering Article 5 of the NATO agreement, he says, well, it depends on how you interpret Article 5. So it concerns me less that he's going to use tactical nuclear weapons because that's out of my control. But when my president says, well, it depends on your interpretation of of Article 5, which is super clear, I get kind of concerned. You know, I don't know if that situation arises if the United States would be on board with supporting its allies. I'd be very that element would concern me more than anything.
Well, I mean that's certainly a concern, but history has shown that Russia has been kind of weary to do things, and so invaded. What was it? Oh my God, my brain's fucked up.
Well, I'll tell you what it is about Russia. One thing I will say about Russia is they love to prey on the West's anxiety over it. So that's their greatest weapon is propaganda. Threatening nuclear deployment. Listen, I have to run because I'm finishing up here at 7. But you can call in again if you want to continue to debate. Did you hear me?
Cool, man. It was nice talking with you. What was your name?
Adam. Thanks for calling. Take care.
Yeah. What was your name? It was nice talking with you.
Adam. Thanks for calling. Take care. All right, guys. I got to run. 7 o'clock. Appreciate you guys coming. Thank you to everybody who supported today. I really appreciate it. If you guys do want to support further, you can become members of the channel. You guys can subscribe. I would appreciate subscribing. I would appreciate hitting the bell. You guys can also support in the link tree in my bio. MAGA, you keep crying. I don't know you keep crying, MAGA. You in the chat. I got a lot of MAGA people that cry in the chat. I don't know. Would liberals survive nuclear war? Caleb, if you think your political ideology would prevent you from dying to a nuclear winter, then you don't understand these bombs. You do not understand these fucking bombs, bro. We all die. We all die. I don't think he understands these bombs. But I appreciate you guys. I really do. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversations. We had some good ones. We had some shitty ones. We had some good ones, But it's always a combination, That first caller I talked to tonight was pretty frustrating because, he wasn't accepting the things that I was saying. But guys, subscribe, hit the bell. Appreciate everybody who called in. Happy Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to everybody. RZ punish him. That doesn't work on YouTube. Shut your mouth. All right. Now you can't speak anymore. Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, everybody. I love this person that said, what are you going to do what you say? You're not going to do anything, dude. Shut up. But yeah. Happy Veterans Day. Especially to all those veterans that uphold their oath. I appreciate you. Love you guys. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Take care. Have a wonderful evening. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Oh, I want to let people know I will be on earlier on TikTok tomorrow. So make sure you guys know that I will be on earlier on TikTok tomorrow because I have something to do later in the day. So I will be on earlier to try and get a live in on TikTok. So make sure you guys might want to wake up a little bit earlier because it's going to be an earlier day for TikTok tomorrow. Take care. Appreciate you.